17th, 2025. If everyone can rise for the pledge and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Grace?
Here.
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 Here. Here. The executive session held prior to this meeting was to consult with our professionals about electric rate adjustment strategies. No action was taken, but it will be included for discussion in the electric report. Now is the time for public comment on agenda items. Seeing none, item number 1.
Do I have a motion to approve council meeting minutes for June 3rd, 2025, meeting as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 2.
Do I have a motion to approve the payment of bills as shown on the accounts payable list dated June 12th, 2025, which is for the period of May 30th, 2025 through June 12th, 2025, and to ratify the approval of those bills already paid and to authorize the appropriate officials to take the required actions to make those payments?
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 3.
Item number 3 is our 2024 audit presentation, and we have Scott Henry here from Brown. I believe it's Brown Plus now, right?
Plus now, yes.
Yes, and he'll give us a little rundown on that.
Do you have my presentation? Oh, okay. Sorry, I can pass it out then, or we can provide it then.
Oh, I'm sorry. What you had?
My audit presentation,
Yes,
yeah.
they have paper copy.
Okay, if you have the paper copy of the audit presentation, I'll just kind of go through it. Like we did last year, the audit presentation is highlights of the financial statements. We still recommend you to go through the financial statements, read them. There's a lot of really good information in there, but tonight I'm just going to go over the highlights. First, I want to start with thanking Sally and her team. Audits are never easy, and they put a lot of work behind the scenes, getting us everything we need, making it as neat and organized. So we just really appreciate everything that they do for us. Starting on the audit presentation, I'm going to start on page 2. It should say at the top, scope of work and audit opinion. That's the DCD report that you have in front of you. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know if you have it in front of you. I'll just talk about the highlights as I go, and I can provide it at the afterwards if anyone needs it. We were engaged to perform an audit of your financial statements. We were also helped prepare the financial statements as well as the DCD report with review and approval by management. And then we also house your depreciation schedule in our software that's provided by to management at the end of the audit for review and approval as well. It's a misnomer sometimes with audits that we tie everything down to the penny. What we use is a materiality threshold, essentially a number that we think financial statements users will care most about, and that's what we use for testing. We also do risk-based auditing, so we look at the riskier areas of the audit, and that's where we tie in a little bit closer. We also review your internal controls. We're not providing an opinion on those internal controls, but if we would notice anything, we would let you know about that. In 2024, we were able to issue an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion that we can give, and essentially says that your financial statements are materially correct and in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. The financial statements are made up of two sets of financial statements. First, government-wide financial statements, which are on the full accrual basis of accounting. This includes all your capital assets, also your long-term debt, your pension and OPEB plans. A couple of key items. Your total assets increased approximately $11.6 million amongst all funds during the year. This is related to the increase from the issuance of the 2024 GO bonds that were not utilized by the end of the year. You also had some significant capital purchases during the year, and then as well as good gains on pretty much all funds during the year. So that's what increased assets. Your total liabilities increased approximately $4.8 million related to those GO notes or GO bonds that you issued during the year. And then both fund balances or both net positions at the end of the year had very strong gains. The net position for your governmental activities was approximately $32.7 million, and your business type activities was approximately $20.7 million. Again, that includes all your long-term items during the year. The business type activities, which is your electric and sewer funds, they saw a change in net position of about $3.1 million during the year. Your revenues and expenses increased for both of those approximately 5%, primarily due to usage during the year. So saw a 5% increase in revenues and then also a 5% increase in expenditures at the same time. Then looking at your business type activities, this is another set of financial statements that are on the modified accrual basis of accounting, not including long-term items such as capital assets or debt. Fund balance for your general fund was $19.8 million at the end of the year. Other governmental funds was about $4.8 million. That's then broken down into 5 categories. First, you have your non-spendable, which relates to your leases, and then also your prepaid. That was approximately $390,000. You had a restricted fund balance of approximately $1.3 million. This is related to external restrictions such as your highways, your rehabilitation program, and then your community fund. You had $6.3 million of committed fund balance. That's at the council level. That's broken down into several categories. First, your stabilization funds, your capital projects, your equipment and vehicle for public works, fire and rescue apparatus and associated equipment, and MS4 compliance, and then parks program, which are all at the council level. You had $211,000 of assigned fund balance. That's related to pretty much management assigns that for flood relief, debt service, and police sinking fund. And this leaves an unassigned fund balance of approximately $16.4 million, or approximately 66% of your fund balance at the end of the year is unassigned. So a strong, healthy fund balance at the end of the year. Your general fund on the modified accrual basis of accounting, so revenues are recognized as you receive them primarily, and expenditures are recognized as you pay them primarily, had a gain of approximately $2.7 million compared to about $3 million in the prior year. And your other governmental funds had a $1 million gain compared to about $726,000 from the prior year. Looking at the general fund, the increase in revenue was primarily due to EIT taxes, as well as better returns on your investments. Also in 2023, this was offset a little bit because 2023 you spent the remaining ARPA funds that you had there.
Yeah.
You did budget. You were under budget, approximately $1.9 million of revenue. That's primarily due to the streetscape that you received grants for, that you were thinking were going to get started in 2024, but were not until after. So you actually you were off budget for revenues by 1.9, but you were off budget for expenditures by 1.4. So those kind of go hand in hand while you weren't meeting your budget there. But that should, in 2025, when those projects start going, that's when you'll recognize those. General fund expenditures were pretty on pace, about $70,000, decrease from the prior year, primarily due to projects that were going on in 2023 that did not reoccur in 2024. Those are the financial statements highlights. I apologize you don't have them in front of you. I will provide the presentation afterwards. A couple of key notes to the financial statements. Your capital assets, you had approximately $4.7 million of additions during the year. This was offset about $2.4 million of depreciation. The significant purchases during the year were the construction equipment, Ford F-350 that was purchased, a down payment on a Leaf truck, police body cameras, and then there was significant work on this Spruce Street substation during the year that accounted for most of that $4.7 million. Debt, you have 4 categories at the end of the year: vehicles and equipment loans, approximately $243,000. Water and wastewater system notes payable, about $440,000 at the end of the year. And then you have 2 bonds. First is the 2023 bonds, approximately $4.4 million left on that. And then your 2024 bonds, $4.4 million. You just issued that during the year. So you did not start making payments on that. And then the other significant note is your pension and OPEB notes. You actually saw positive gains on your pension plans. Most of them saw anywhere from $200,000 to $400,000 change in positive, decrease in your liability. These are actuarially determined, so this is just a point in time that they're using estimations such as mortality tables, actuarial assumption, discount rates, and so forth. So it's just a snapshot in time, but it was good that you saw those returns on those investments in 2024 to help offset the OPEB liability that is being projected for your actuaries. The rest that I'm just going to talk about is just required communication. We did provide an audit of the financial statements for you, but the financial statements are your financial statements. The accounting policies and procedures that you issue and that you follow are yours. As I mentioned, risk-based auditing, we identified as the riskier areas of the audit, and this is nothing to be concerned about. We just look at each entity, what we think is the most risky areas, and that's where we do most of our testing. The key risky areas were management override controls. That's with any entity. That's always a risk. Allowance for doubtful accounts related to your accounts receivable if you think you're going to receive them or not. Grants, always a significant risk just because of compliance there. And then accuracy and valuation of your pension plan, compensated assets, and capital leases, just because it takes some assumptions with those. Completeness of accounts payable, and then last, just the issuance of debt, completeness and accuracy and valuation of that. We didn't notice anything wrong with those. Those were just the riskier areas of the audit. We did implement GASB 100 and 101 during the year. GASB 100 related to just prior period adjustments, just how we have to report them on your financial statements if we would have one. GASB 101 did have an impact on your financial statements. It related to compensated absences, so those vacation and sick accruals that you make. We had to accrue a little bit more of sick based on GASB 101 during the year, which Sally and her team helped create that for us, and we were able to book a liability for that. And then if there was any difficulties with management, we would have to let you know about that. We're happy to say there were no difficulties. I know that was that was very quick and very high level. Any questions or anything that anyone has? I appreciate your time. Like I said, I'll make sure we get the board presentation to you. Our contact information is in there. As mentioned, my name is Scott Henry. I'm the main principal on the job, so feel free to reach out to me. I know we're only here for a short period of time, but if you ever need any advice or anything that we can help you with, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks.
Thanks for your work.
All right, do we have a motion to accept the 2024 audit report for the borough as presented by the auditor?
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 4.
Item number 4 is the Royalton Sewage Treatment Agreement and Resolution. As you may recall, we have been extending our intermunicipal agreement with the Borough of Royalton for sewage services for some time now. And you can see that in my manager's report. It's one of the informational items in there. And we finally have arrived at a point where the Middletown Water Joint Venture has negotiated a new agreement on behalf of Middletown Borough with the Borough of Royalton for sewer services and charges. And that agreement is in your packet. It's already been approved and signed by Royalton Borough, Royalton Authority, and the joint venture. And we are the last sign off for that, so that's on your agenda for a vote. So if there aren't any questions, I will read the motion.
I have a question.
Yep.
In comparison to Middletown residents, what is the difference between the two charges between Middletown resident and?
Well, the charges that you'll see in their agreement are wholesale charges. They're not retail because they are wholesaling sewer service to Royalton. So basically it just has the treatment charge. It doesn't have the distribution charge because Royalton owns their own sewer collection system.
Okay.
So I have
Not
to...
apples to apples.
No, it's not apples to apples. So it is less It's a less per gallon rate you'll see than you'll see for Middletown, but it's because Royalton then puts their charges on top of the Veola charges.
Thank you.
Okay? So, do I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2025-16, approving and authorizing the execution of the sewage treatment agreement between the Borough of Middletown, the Borough of Royalton, Borough of Royalton Authority, Middletown Water Joint Venture LLC, and Veolia Water Contract Operations dated June 11th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. At this time, we're going to actually go to item number 7, which is the electric report.
Yes, we have our consultant with us here today. Jacob Thomas is with GDS, and he is going to present the electric rate study that his firm has completed on behalf of the Borough of Middletown. We had to take upon this rate study as well as a cost of service study in his anticipation of our own costs going up. And Jacob will tell you about those, what I call transmission costs. You'll hear somebody refer to them as pass-through costs that are coming from the PJM, which is the Pennsylvania, Jersey, Maryland Power Consortium, for which puts charges on our wholesale purchase of electric. So Jacob, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, my firm was hired to take a look at the rate study here. And so by way of setting the stage, the typical process for a rate study for the electric utility is a 3-step process. In the first step, we identify what are called the revenue requirements. And there, what we're looking at is just what does the total revenue need to be for the financial health of the utility. The second step is a cost of service analysis. And in that study, what we're looking at doing is we're trying to figure out what does it cost to serve different types of customers, because different types of customers use the electric grid and use power in different ways that drive costs differently. And so we basically look at what does it cost for a residential customer versus a small industrial or a large industrial customer. And then the final step is the rate design phase, and that's where we go through and we figure out what do we need to charge in order to recover those revenue requirements, and given the cost of service results that we got in the second step. Kind of step back and forth. So what brings us here tonight is as Ken mentioned, the PJM is a market that we and everybody in the area are all a part of, and there are certain costs in the PJM market that are accelerating very quickly, and there are costs that we cannot avoid, there are costs that are coming, and unfortunately that means that we're going to have to raise rates. And you can kind of see there at the top line on the chart on the upper right hand corner there, in 24-25 the cost was $50 a megawatt day. The 25-26 number is an actual number that takes effect the second half of this year, and it went up to $270 a megawatt day. And so these are costs that are incurred by the borough for being in a marketplace that helps them access the power that they sell to the ultimate retail customers. Our estimates were that the cost could be as much as $300 to $400 in the next planning year. That is not known yet. That auction has not occurred. But the PJM and FERC is a federal regulatory body that that manages the entire grid for the U.S. They came to an agreement that in 26-27 they would cap the price at no more than $325 a megawatt day. So we know that at worst case scenario, it's going to go up from $270 to $325 next year. The result of all that, I took all that in as part of the rate study to figure out what do the revenues need to be. And it's unfortunate, but over the 2-year stretch, it results in the need for a 19.5% overall revenue increase, or roughly 10% per year in each year. So we have looked at ways to try to do that and manage the impact on the customers. We know that it's a big increase. Any increase is unfortunate, and so what we have come up with is a 2-step plan here, where starting with the residential class, we would recommend a first step of raising that customer charge from $10.91 today to $21 even in step one. The energy charge itself would stay the same, so the 11.6 cents per kilowatt hour would not go up in step one. And then in step two later, next year, the $21 would stay the same, but then the energy charge would need to go up by up to 12.8 cents per kilowatt hour in order to make up that additional cost increase. Now there's a basis for these. Let me start with the $21 charge. The cost of service analysis, one of the things it does is it identifies different types of costs that are incurred by different customer classes. And so for the residential class, on the left-hand side, there are two bars. There are what are called customer costs and then distribution demand costs. The customer costs, the black part of the bar, are all of those costs associated with just having a customer on the system before they use a single kilowatt hour. And it includes having a meter, having a service drop, producing a bill, having customer service reps, collecting the payments. So all of that are customer-related activities, and on average, it costs us $31 a customer a month for residential customers to incur those costs. And so you can see right now our current customer-related cost or charge, is just over $10, right? That customer charge. In my proposal, I'm saying you should go up to $21. So even then, there's about $10 more of those customer-related costs that we're going to have to recover through the energy charge instead of in our customer charge. So there is a cost basis for the increase in the customer charge. Now, the PJM costs, I said, are region-wide, and everybody is suffering through this together, and this is a good example of that. What I'm showing here is a residential bill at different usage levels. The present column is what a present borough customer would pay at that usage level, and I've highlighted 750 kilowatt hours because that's kind of the average amount of usage for a residential customer here. The revised column is actually after both steps. So this is 2 years later in a two-step plan, and you can see the bill goes up to $117 total. But the interesting thing is that PPL customers today are paying $140.71 for that same 750 kilowatt hours. So even after our two-step process, we are still going to be cheaper than PPL, and that's a good indicator that PPL, just like us and just like others in the region, are having to deal with these cost increases, and they're raising the rates on their ratepayers. Similarly, I'm recommending a two-step process. They won't be on the slides, but you have the packets from our executive session for the non-residential classes. And so, for instance, on the small C&I, the customer charge would go up to $31. And by the end of the two steps, the energy charge would be over 12 cents, and the demand charges are listed there. Do you have a question?
Just want to clarify, you've mentioned two steps over 2 years. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is it two steps over a year and a half? Because technically we're halfway through 2025. So
That's
we're looking
fair,
at implementing this in 2025. We're halfway through 2025.
That's correct. Yeah, first step you should implement just as soon as you approve it. And then the second step you'd want to implement, at the beginning of 26. You're correct. Thank you for that. So I'm just going to hit these really quickly and not step back and forth from the microphone. Hopefully you can hear me okay. The church rate similarly would have the $31 charge. The large C&I, the same thing. And so all of these, what you're seeing is the increase in the customer charge. In step one, in all of these, there would be an increase in some of the energy and demand charges as well, whereas the residential is only the customer charge. And that's just because we're not raising the customer charge for some of these as much as residential, so we still needed a little extra revenue to hit our targets. The other thing to note is after the 2-year period, each of the classes are, roughly experiencing that same 19.5% increase. So my recommendation here is that we spread this out across all of our customer classes. And so even the yard lighting class you can see there. So that concludes kind of the recommendations I have and the analysis we did at a very high level. To answer any questions or provide any further details you need.
Any questions? Greg, anything to add? Good?
On this,
Yep. All right.
couple of scenarios, and we thought that this scenario here would be best.
Yeah.
He doesn't have it, but he didn't show it, but that here for the residential is not gonna increase their kilowatt,
Right.
but it will increase customer.
All right, well, thank you, Jacob. Greg, you can, come on up and, give us the rest of your electric report if you like. What we, are gonna do in the meantime is ask council if we can put this on the, July business agenda for a vote, you know, to opt for this, option that you just saw presented as our rate increase for the electric.
Good idea.
No, we're gonna vote in the July business meeting, okay? We'll have a motion prepared. Okay, Greg, take it away.
Couple of things. We had one outage since last report due to a squirrel. Critter guard was installed and a new cutout bracket and stuff. So as these squirrels find their ways in, we'll keep updating on how we conquer them. So unfortunately, he won't be ever getting into another cutout. So substation update. Control building is up. All the control conduits are in. All the structural foundations are poured, and they should be installing the structural soon. That's where the all the attachments go for the equipment. Delivery of the transmission towers are scheduled for the beginning of July. Once the transmission towers come in, then we do have to decommission that substation. So we've been holding them off till the last possible day, especially with the water table as high as it is. You know, we were in a drought a month ago, and now we got a water table that just has our river one bad storm away from a good flood. So I told him we're not decommissioning until we absolutely have to. But everything's moving along a lot quicker now there. Even with the weather, they're out there working in the rain for the most part. It's a muddy mess. Other than that, this is my last report. I'm retiring, and I want to thank council and the residents for a wonderful 35 years, and wish everybody the best. I'm still going to be around, helping out, maybe a day a week or whatever. You need me or want me or don't want me. And Rob, if you want to stand up, come up here. Rob Waltman's is taking over I was going to say going to be my replacement, but there's no such thing as a replacement of me. He's going to take over the supervisor position, and I have all my faith in him. He's going to do a wonderful job. He's going to, he's got a lot to learn, but there's no doubt in my mind he'll learn it over the years, and I'll be around to help him and help the borough out as needed. As you can see, we're in the midst of a bunch of very, very technical projects, including possible future projects. So definitely going to need all the help we have. But anyways, this is Rob. I don't know if you want to add anything, but he don't talk a lot. You don't have to worry about him holding your meetings up.
Well, Greg, we thank you for your service, and
Thank you.
we're going to miss you, and we're glad you're sticking around for a while under a separate agreement to help mentor Rob and consult with us, and we're looking forward to that transition too. And Rob, we're welcoming you aboard, and we're going to be here to support you, and we know you can do it. You're technically competent, and we have all the faith in the world in you.
Mm-hmm.
Just remember, if I die after my retirement, that gets named the Wilsbach Memorial Substation.
Memorial substation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg.
No.
Do you have questions?
No, I just wanted to say, Greg, that I've worked with you for 12 years. I've even worked with you when you sat here as a borough council member,
And we've had disagreements over the years on things, but one thing that I was always confident in was your ability to keep us running from an electrical standpoint. I just want to say thank you for your service and being part of this team. We really do appreciate it. And to Rob, welcome aboard. So thank you for everything. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you. Okay. Now we'll go back to number 5, the manager's report.
Okay, you'll see my report doesn't have a whole lot on there. We already discussed item number 1, the informational item there. Item number 2 there is just some information that actually tomorrow we're going to have a little ceremonial opening for the new and improved Overdeer Park. Rain or shine, next door here. Any council people who would like to be there, we've invited the regional director from DCNR, Lori Yike, will be there, and State Representative Tom Mahaffey, who supported our project in getting the grant funds with their letters of support. We asked them to come, and we're going to have a little announcement there to just to introduce people, and then have a quick ribbon cutting and take some pictures. And so you're all invited to come. We have a photographer coming if you can make it. Matt's going to be on the ready with a couple of pop-up tents if it is raining that we can stick up and put out there.
Okay.
Okay? So after tomorrow, that's at what, 6:30, I believe we're doing that? 6 o'clock. After that, it'll be, we'll take down the construction fence and it'll be open to the public for playtime. All right? Yeah, you can be the first down the slide. All right, item number 3 there, we did, and I think Dan will probably report on this a little bit more. They did get, Dan's group got the door hangers out in the Grandview area for the permit parking. We have gotten some feedback already, some negative feedback about why do we need these permits. So Dan can, and maybe Grace can talk about that a little bit. We get some people that don't think they need them. Also in your packet, Mara provided a year-end financial report. Jenny, I don't know if you want to add anything at this time about Mara, or do you want to do that under council report later on?
I can do it now.
Okay.
They have, they're, I guess, say, restructuring some positions. So I brought stuff back from the meeting for you guys to all have a copy, and we're going to have to vote on it next month if we want to stay with Mara and if we approve their restructuring.
Oh, so I did read through this, but I didn't really understand what they were.
They changed, like, there's no director now, they're coordinators, and there's some other language changes, and it has to be voted upon because of the language that was changed.
I don't think that was in my packet.
It might not.
Okay.
It's in there.
Okay, okay, because what I was reading was this financial stuff.
Oh.
It's in that thing you just held up.
Yeah, but that wasn't, I was reading the packet from the weekend. Yeah, this just came today.
Yeah,
I was
that just
reading the
came
packet
today.
Friday.
I just
Yeah.
got it
Okay.
today.
Do we want to talk about this financial thing now, or? Because I have some questions.
Same.
Or do you want to wait till the council?
Well, there's a Mara section on here too, or is that
Yeah, there's a
them?
Mara section.
Yeah, do
We
you
can
want
do
me
it
to
then.
ask my questions then?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay,
So this is what we're supposed to read
for the vote.
for the
Yeah,
vote
for-
at the
for-
next meeting?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I don't really have anything else to report this month, so if there's any questions, why, let me know.
Okay, any questions for Ken? Seeing none? Item number 6, codes report.
And Jason is away, so I'll do the best to answer any questions or take anything back to him. You see his report there. He lists the complaints that came in, and he gives an update on the sheds as far as the ones that are in the floodplain. He's getting compliance with majority of the ones that he's looking to. He still has one organization, I think, that isn't responding yet, and we're gonna have to continue to try to put some pressure on them to get that done. And he's,
Organization is that?
Hmm?
What organization is that?
this is the youth club.
Okay, I'm sorry, are the other ones in compliance? Now, I know Seven Stars down at Fry is in compliance. Are the other ones down at Susquehanna in compliance?
Not yet. MABA has responded and said they're lining up the contractor to do the work. They've complied if they're gonna have it done by a certain time frame. I don't recall what it was, but they said they're gonna get it done. The only one we don't have a commitment from is the youth club.
So, and I'm sorry, I don't know if you'll know this, but, so out of the ones down on Susquehanna Street that, however many are, I don't remember, if there's 5 or 6 down there? Who owns what?
I don't know. Matt might be able to address that when he comes up during his report, but I think the youth club has the big one. It looks like the concession stand type.
And they haven't replied yet to the letter.
Right. Not to my knowledge, they haven't replied.
And the deadline was May 23rd.
Yes.
So what are we doing?
Well, we
Sorry.
have,
That was, I know I'm staring at
Ja-
you, but I'm
Jason had
directing
some-
it more to this body.
Jason had some correspondence with the solicitor, I thought, maybe. Do you recall? He did?
So he did
He had
about
some
a
questions.
different
All different.
thing, but I might as well mention it.
Yeah.
So we got, it actually came from the bank initially. They have a letter of credit, that's the same group, right?
The youth club, yeah.
Yeah.
That's for the Grant Street property.
Yeah, so we had approved the plan a couple of years ago for them to,
Yeah.
and they posted a letter of credit, which they have to do when you get a land development plan approved. And then the borough was contacted the other day by the bank saying, can you release this letter of credit? They're not going forward with their project. And, I was looking at it and saying, well, we would need something much more formal from the applicant, and we'd have to, this body would have to pass something formal terminating the plan or withdrawing it and they'd have to pay for it, but it have to be recorded with the recorder deeds off, because there's a approved plan sitting out there, somebody can build a building. But it sounded from that like they're certainly scaling back whatever their plans were, so I don't know, maybe it's bigger than scaling back
Now,
their
this
plans.
is the plans they aborted when they got into the lease agreement with us for the Main Street gym.
Oh, is that the same building? Okay, I didn't realize what drove that decision, but
Yeah.
they want to actually kill the recorded plan.
Yeah, that's an older plan now.
Okay, and then
I see in Jason's report, he's outlined a number of options that he can pursue.
That's what I told him to discuss with the solicitor. I don't know that he's done that.
Okay,
yeah, he hasn't done that yet, but
okay.
but we certainly can, charge them for whatever if we have to.
I want to
Move
make
it.
sure he knows he has authority to do the things he's mentioning here before they do them.
Okay, okay.
Are we still on track? I know you gave me that stuff this evening, but we're still on track with the rental inspection.
Yeah, although I want
That's a
to talk with you because I know you have some ideas on and use that.
I'm sorry, I'm not finished yet.
Yeah, we're.
Yeah.
I thought you were
No, we're not even close to the council part of the meeting yet.
No,
Well, I
Okay.
appreciate that,
I'm with
Jason.
I'm with code.
I appreciate Jason is, seeking your advice on assuring he has authority to move on any of these options. I would just like to say that Jason has attempted to seek compliance over a number of months with these organizations, and to again, be ignored, if you will, is a waste of staff time. So whatever methods can take care of this as soon as possible. It's just been dragging on long enough.
I agree, because it's going to ultimately fall back on the borough. We're the ones that are gonna be holding the can when FEMA comes. It's our responsibility. No one
Right.
else but the borough. And then what? are we gonna say, oh, go, contact, the youth club?
No,
They don't
right, it's-
care.
Yeah, they don't care.
Yeah, or, they're gonna be like, well, who's that? It's your property, it's your responsibility.
Yeah,
And I feel that we have made every effort, Jason has.
Yes,
And
he
when
has.
is the line drawn?
And given how high the river is with all this rain,
So what is the next step then, Jim? Is it a fine, or is it?
No, it wouldn't really be a fine. They're not violating an ordinance. Well, I mean, they're on our property, so it's a more direct. We're telling them to get it off, and we would probably sue them for whatever our costs are. I don't know physically what's there, whether it's something that can be, whether it's something that should be torn down, whether it's I don't physically know what.
Or do we just do the work and just?
One of them was hooked to an electric service.
That's the big one.
They got approval from us at one time to be there. So I review these reports at least a week before this meeting, and I directed him to check with the solicitor to make sure we have authority if we're going to have somebody hauled away. I want to make sure that proper letter goes out before it's hauled away, that we don't get in some.
Yeah, I'll have to see whatever our approval. I don't
Right.
know what the mechanism
So,
was. How
I
they
don't know, yeah.
came
Other
in
than,
the door there.
the way I understand, it's only been emails to this point, back and forth, and not answering emails or a letter. And I don't know what was in the letter that he sent, so told him to check with Jim and make sure he's got his
So it was almost odd to me.
I's dotted and T's
As a
crossed.
corollary, this letter of credit thing, it was not a request from them. It was the bank saying.
Yeah, the bank was the letter.
'Cause
Right.
that was kind of peculiar. And it was like, well, we can't act on the bank asking.
Yeah. The youth club has also been, the management of the youth club has also been an issue at the Main Street Gym with high grass. We've already paid to cut that because of lack of response to our sending letters and threatening fines. So we cut it because it got so high. So that's been an ongoing thing with trash up there that, we've had to pick up or tell them to pick up, but then it's always, they shift the blame back, well, you didn't put a dump truck out there for us. It's not our responsibility to hold their hand, they're leasing that. So at some point, when we get to the point where you're not
Yeah, I hadn't
complying
heard
with the
those
lease, so
issues yet.
there's that issue going on too.
But they're still holding event. They're still operating, sort of.
As far as I know,
Okay.
yeah. So, anything else on the code stuff?
And we're gonna talk about that issue
Yeah, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff in executive session.
Can we get an update from Jason at our next meeting in 2 weeks on this issue?
Sure. Yeah, we can give it to you even by email if he gets it before the meeting, but,
Well, I haven't had email for over a week, so I'm not gonna hold my breath on that.
okay.
Honestly, I don't even like the idea of the 4 sheds down there on our property. I've unaffectionately called that the city of sheds for years. I don't know if they had permission for all 4 of them. I know they did for the first because we hooked
Sure, somebody gave them permission years ago.
I'd rather the borough,
They don't show up. There was a lot of, handshake permissions done in the past.
well, that looks abysmal. I'd rather the borough own a shed and give access to the entities to utilize them, because I've had private conversations with those entities. They're not even using the sheds to their capacity. So you have 4 sheds down there that really are serving no purpose, and now you can't even get compliance for them in the event of a flood. So in terms of aesthetics, in terms of aggravation, I'd rather the borough put up something that is in line with their vision and they own it, and then you don't have to deal with this. And then have that blocked off so that multiple agencies can use it, associations can use it, and this isn't an aggravation anymore. And then we own it.
Anyone else? Okay. Item number 8, finance.
Good evening.
Evening.
Hello. The only item that I have that I wanted to highlight tonight is, The last item on, my report about upgrading to the cloud with our financial and utility, software. Jim Diamond and I are still, I didn't attach it to this, the contract to this report, because Jim and I are still, grappling with them about, one item. Actually, we're down to one
It
item.
may be corrected, I didn't have a chance to open it, but I saw
Yeah.
an email come in from their attorney as I was walking out.
Right, but it's my understanding that it's not critical to signing the contract at this point, so, the conversion, I'm recommending the conversion, to the cloud for a few reasons. One, our software is all server-based, and those servers are, at a point where they need to be replaced. And that would be a cost of $30,000 to $50,000 to replace them. If we do the cloud conversion now, that cost goes away. And we lose basically 3 servers and a storage area network. Now, there will be some replacement for other, programs that we have. We have to make sure that the body cams for the police, I believe our cameras, and, what was the other items?
What's the door cam?
And, yeah, the Door King, so that the other items that require a server-based, network will have that. But for the cloud, it will get rid of expense, for 2025, because we are pushing up the conversion to October from January in order to, save, licensing on those servers, so we don't have to pay it and then, not convert until January. So we're gonna push the conversion until October. And that recommendation was through our IT provider. So I'm working with both the solicitor and IT and Tyler to get the conversion, going. So it would begin in October, and it would probably run completely through March 2026, to make sure that all the testing's done, all the, everything is loaded, and we're running normally. I'm assured that will happen very quickly, but we're gonna say we're gonna need some time, potentially. The first year, will cost about little over $5,000 for the conversion, which we still have ARPA money, because we were gonna use that for the server base. So we have ARPA money to cover our first year. And then the second year and beyond will be a budget line item that I will put in our department. So I am asking for a vote on the caveat that the, contract is cleared by our solicitor. Anybody have any other questions?
Any other questions?
And I am very grateful that the auditors did not find any manager problems when they came
Yes.
for the audit. That would have been,
Good.
difficult.
Congratulations. Well done.
I guess one other thing, we did go through the liquid fuels audit. It is completed, and I have no indication that there are any issues there either.
Thank you.
There might be a decrease, I think, is that true, or
A
did you,
decrease,
in the liquid fuels, or did you guys hold the line on that?
No, she's talking about, there was rumor there was gonna be a decrease out of the
Yeah.
Shapiro budget to what they give you annually.
I have not,
That's what they were saying at that
Yeah,
conference.
I didn't hear
that
it.
they-
I haven't gotten any indication that that's true
Yeah,
at this point.
yeah, that's what that PennDOT guy was saying at the conference, that there might be a decrease in the liquid fuels, but I wondered if it had happened.
I have not gotten any indication that the allocation's gonna be different.
Good,
Have you gotten any indication now? No.
I know.
You have the budget time.
Any other questions?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, there is a attachment for the budget timetable. If you wanna take a look at that. Anything in red is, actually, items that council will be involved in. So take a look at it. If there are any questions or issues about moving those meetings around, we can do that.
Didn't I get one of those?
What time are these meetings?
It's the last page.
The presentation meetings are at 5:30. So there'll be department presentations, and then we will have
Oh.
3 dates for department presentations. And then, the rest of the time is actually reviewing the overall budget.
They don't have the red colors, so the red colors are September 2nd, September 15th, September 17th through the October 8th, and October, oh, is yours there?
Mine's
Okay.
red, Jenny's isn't.
Okay,
We're good.
all right, Jenny, it's just
I
you.
don't know why yours isn't.
You, Jenny.
They didn't want you.
You just give her a black and
all
white
good.
copy.
That'll work.
Oh, actually,
is
she
red in-
probably printed it out, right?
That's for the ones that we need.
If you wanted to circle them or something, so you know.
I had nothing to do with that.
Ran out of red ink. It's part of the IT issue we're having, also problems with printers. Email and everything else. It'll be seamless, they say. We transitioned from regular Microsoft to Microsoft 365 because Microsoft isn't gonna support our email server in like another year, so they convinced us to transition to the cloud-based server for email, and it just made all kinds of problems.
I'm good.
Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Sally.
Thanks.
Thanks, Sally.
Item number 9, Fire Department.
Good evening.
Hi.
You may recall, last, October, November timeframe, I talked about the OSHA folks coming up with a 600-page document which is, was going to indirectly involve the fire department. There was a lot of lobbying, there was a lot of, public discussion, and I'm told now that the leadership of the National Fire Service is talking with OSHA to try to get that reduced. And the only reason I bring that up is because it's, even though Pennsylvania is not an OSHA state, between our insurance carriers and the legal community using these standards in defense, some of these things are going to directly relate to us. And they're going to be costly items. So we're keeping an eye on that one. The other one is, if you have in your packet, I included a memo from the United States Senate. We spend a lot of time discussing the cost to operate a fire department for vehicles and equipment. And there's a national movement to some of these manufacturers who, and I don't want to impugn their integrity, but some of their business practices, and I don't think it's going to cause a lot of financial relief, but at least someone else other than me standing here telling you what it costs to operate the fire department, someone else has caught the facts that we're not just crying the blues to cry the blues. The other thing is we prepared a spreadsheet, and we had a meeting with our insurance carrier over the last several months, and it's readily apparent between the building, the equipment, the apparatus, that we're operating about an $8 million corporation. And we've redone the way we report out our finances to our members, and we've prepared this spreadsheet. Now, these numbers are not 100% accurate because in the case of the vehicle lease, just talking with Sally, we've not received that payment yet. But from when I started this thing back in this chart back in 1958, we have 3.9 million projects that we have worked on. The grants that we received against that was 2.9. So the grant community is there. We are actively pursuing them, and the cost to the department and the taxpayers is 1.1 in round numbers. So it's just something to look at from an information standpoint, and we're very conscious of the cost. This electrical presentation tonight is one that we were not prepared for, so we will work around that. If there's any questions on that, we try to answer them. Thank you.
No, thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Todd, you're done? Okay.
Hey, well, thanks for the fundraising at the local restaurants and such. I think that was a great idea.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay, let's talk about that. Todd Webb, 735 Dietrich Avenue, Vice President of Middletown Volunteer Fire Department. So, yes, we are doing that. Saturday night is Jack Frost night from, I think it's noon to 6 or 7. So they have a whole bunch of events planned for us. They're giving 20% of the profit that day to the volunteer fire department. Sunday is Community Day at the swim club that they are donating. The swim club is donating all of the guest fees and whatever we decide to grill and cook and food to the fire department. So that day my wife and I are going to go to Sam's, and I'm donating all the food that I am going to cook to give back to the fire department for that on that day. We are also we put a boot at the request of Hops and Barley. They wanted us to put a boot there, so we put a boot in there. So we're going to check on that. The other thing we had the idea of, a member had the idea of you can like on Oriental Trader, some of those little they're like little kid fire department boots. And we're going to put our logo on them and put it all over businesses. And then we have people that can come and try and check those on a regular basis. Saturday, I went down to the Moose to see how they do their cash raffle, to potentially do that in conjunction with our sportsman's raffle that we're having in October, to do something in the spring along those lines. It's a decent profit margin for not a whole lot of work. Again, it's like anything else. You got to sell tickets to do it. So I'm going to look into that. We did fairly well with the Election Day soup sale. I think we made $1,200 bucks. About $1,200 bucks that day. It's actually, we sold out of everything before like 2 p.m. So it went really well. I'm still working on the online raffles. I just kind of fell short on that one, and I don't really have anyone else that seems to want to kind of get involved. So we're still trying to do a lot of different things, creative things that are a better bang for the buck for the less amount of man hours. So if anybody has any ideas or something more that they'd like to see us do, by all means, we'll try and support that. So
How'd you make out with the mailers that you guys sent out?
I can't sit here and tell you. I don't know.
Okay, I'm just curious. Yeah, because it's simple and.
I know that after the first week, basically our costs were paid for from that, so everything's profit now. I will say we rebranded the Sportsman's Raffle this year. We also increased the tiers of sponsors. So here's an example of how much the community is supporting us. We decided that we're going to make a top tier sponsor of $1,000. I was a little leery of it because we're asking for businesses for $1,000. It's substantial. So we decided we're going to do like 3 or 4 top tier, and we're going to make a banner and hang it for the event. Within a week, we had 6. So I went back to the original ones that were the original sponsors from when we started this 16 years ago and said, look, here's a good problem we have, and we told you that it's going to be this, but we got more. And they all said, why would you turn away money? Keep going, get as many as you can. So there's more coming in. So the profit hopefully is a lot more than what it was last year, but
cool.
it's taken on a life of its own, and we got the tickets out way more early, probably a month and a half, 2 months earlier than we ever have before, to try and increase the amount of awareness, put it out there so people know. We have people coming from all over the place asking if they can purchase tickets online, but we don't do that. So it's actually going pretty well so far. So, yes, ma'am.
How did you do at the Blue Angels, thing? How did you guys make out selling tickets that day?
I actually think I don't know, I was in my backyard, but they did pretty well because that was shortly after I dropped 1,000 tickets off down there, and they called and said, hey, we're out of tickets, can you bring more tickets down?
Yeah, because a friend of mine was at my house, and you guys parked up by, and they were, well, friends of mine were doing it. They were,
I actually had somebody come up to me and had no idea who I was and said, do you want to buy tickets for the Middletown Volunteer Fire Department?
Perfect.
Sure, I'll buy one.
Yeah, I'll buy it.
Anything else?
So, I'm sorry, what time is the event on Sunday?
The swim club?
Yeah.
That's when they open. I think it's 1 to 6, 1 to 4, 1 to 5. They open at 1.
So it's Community Day.
It's Community Day. I think it's $5 per person or $10 for a family. So anybody can come. And then all that money goes back to the fire department. So.
And you're cooking and what are you doing?
Making all the food and buying all the food and donating it all back.
You are.
Yes.
what are you
Well, I'm gonna donate to you to help.
Hamburgers and hot dogs and whatever else. Whatever else to throw on the grill.
Swim Club is the hoster.
I actually was gonna leave.
Okay.
Let me know. All right.
On the board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you, Todd.
He's operating as the board.
Thank you. Maybe this isn't the time for it, maybe at the end, but
We should go out.
what's going on with that fire truck?
Number 10, Highway?
You know, maybe you should go to the restaurant.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Is there,
Pat.
I was saying maybe this isn't the right time. It just made me think about it with the fire department. The fire truck. Is there?
It hasn't sold yet.
Yeah, still.
Oh,
Jeez. Highway department?
He was coming.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi, Matt.
Hi, Matt.
Lots of things. Permit parking has been, the signs have all been replaced for Grandview. I think Dan can probably expound on how that's going and everything out there, but all of that has been taken care of.
The signs are.
Thank you. Some budgetary costs were included regarding the dam. As you can see, these numbers, these are really high-level numbers. There's a lot of variables until a plan is actually drawn and it is put in front of DEP for their comment and approval. But I think the biggest takeaway from this, and the two companies who provided quotes, this is right in their wheelhouse. This is what they do. I think the biggest takeaway is the meeting the requirements that DEP wants is about twice as much as removal. So, and even with those meeting what the requirements in the inspection letter were, we still have a 123-year-old dam, and a lot of their impoundment is filled with sediment. We're not really improving the conditions out there. As you know, some dredging things had been looked at, over the past few years, and this will not improve any of that. This is just taking care of the trees and the outlet structure if we do the rehabilitation portion of this. Yeah.
When does it have to be done by, Matt? Did they give us a deadline? Like, we need to figure something out by?
They're happy we're making progress, we're making efforts. I would think that they would want to know what direction we're going on probably within a month or two.
Matt, how many acres is the whole entire, not just the dam, but the whole?
I'm thinking 40-some. Do you happen to recall, Ken?
I think it's right around, if memory serves me correct, 50 rings a bell in my head.
I'm thinking, yeah,
52. Maybe the borough could entertain killing two birds with one stone. I know council's thrown around the idea of building a solar farm for production to help with our solar rates. If we have to go buy 40, 50 acres somewhere, you'll spend $500,000. You could take that $500,000 that you'd buy land elsewhere and clear cut that, rip it out, and prep it for a future solar project.
It's pretty brutal territory. It's pretty rugged terrain out there. It's very hilly. It's very rocky. There are huge exposed rocks at the surface. I'm not saying it can't be done, but it's definitely not like a farm field where it would be a pretty straightforward project. There's a lot of, it's pretty brutal out there in places.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you recommend we do with it?
My recommendation on this would be removal of the dam. I think it's going to be the most cost-effective solution in the long run for a facility that no longer serves the borough any purpose other than a recreational park. It can still be a recreational area whether the dam is there or not. I'm not saying something isn't possible, and I just know I've spent some time on that property, and it's a pretty rugged piece of property.
Mm-hmm.
And they call it ironstone out there. It's a very hard rock to try and get things through, is what my understanding is.
Yeah, I don't have any first-hand knowledge of, I don't know it as deep as you do.
Yeah, it's pretty rugged.
Matt, you mentioned a plan going in front of DEP,
Yes,
and who creates that plan and presents the plan?
HRG.
HRG. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and that's where, as you can see on the portion there, the engineering / permitting portion is the same for, it's basically the same for either option. A lot of the effort of doing some survey, of getting some plans drawn, a lot of the effort is the same. There's just a little difference between the removal and the rehabilitation, per se. There's more design with the rehabilitation. They have to design the outlet works, the tower, all of that sort of thing. It's a structural design at that point.
And you just said you were hoping in the next couple of months council could decide on a direction and then HRG would start a design based on the direction we want to go?
Yes, a decision has to be made, and it has to be one of these two options.
Right.
That's pretty much what DEP has allowed us to, what our two options are.
Would they allow us to sell it? Would it be somebody else's problem?
I can ask them. I'm not sure.
I mean, why would we have to fix it to sell it?
Yeah, I don't think they can
we're
stop you,
fixing it
even
for-
if you're a dam permittee, that just, the permit would follow to the new
Yeah,
owner.
because we're looking at $250,000 to remove the dam. But if a private entity bought it, and were to sell it, they might be able to remove it for half that because the engineering cost is half of that.
Yeah, I'm surprised that
You know, some.
it's only $10,000 less for a demo
Matt,
on the engineering.
have
Yeah, the,
you
demo,
explored,
the engineering
grant
more than the
options
demo.
at all?
Right.
What'd she say?
They're
Huh.
I don't find any for the rehab work. There may possibly be some for the removal and or the restoration. There's a big push to remove dams across the nation. Probably seen they've done some out in the Colorado River. It's let the things go back to what they were originally. Let the fish species and everything have back what was there before man fiddled with their process. So we may be able to get some. One of the wild cards with this, with the removal portion, would be how much DEP's, when we met out there on site, we met with the dam safety people. So they're the same organization, but they're definitely two different groups.
as far as who would review the plan and everything else. One of the variables for removal would be, if the dam is removed, how much will they make or want a stream to be put back up through? Because right now it's a lot of sediment and the water's just kind of sitting on top of the sediment. So when the dam's removed and the water goes away, the stream will naturally, over time, find its course back through all the sediment. It'll come down to whether they want us to go in through there and recreate a pathway to get it to do that so that it can be more of a controlled fashion, so that all the sediment just doesn't work its way down, or whether they will come up with some, maybe we have to go 100 feet, maybe we have to go 300 feet kind of a deal. And that'll be up to the reviewer once we get the plans in front of them.
You mean dredging 100 feet?
It really would be dredging. Once the water is down and gone, it would actually be just getting equipment out there.
So you're telling us if we remove the dam, we don't have all the information on what it would cost us then? There may be more costs involved, you're saying, than what you have here presented?
Until we move forward with,
Why
getting
couldn't
the
we get
plan.
that answered now from DEP?
I don't think they
But
will
they-
until they put a plan in front of them.
That doesn't seem to make any sense, business sense for us to do that. I mean, if that's the case, why, you know, nobody asked council if we're gonna remove that dam, what are you gonna do with the property when the fishing stops?
I know we have option 1 and option 2, but I feel like Ken might have put out there possible option 3, something we've talked about before, and that is, selling the property. I would think we would need an appraisal to start. Would that be you, Solicitor
Yeah, we can
Diamond?
get an appraiser on it, if you decide to go in that direction.
Right. I mean, if we have time to look at options, maybe that is one to look at. To Ken's point, if someone purchased it, they're paying a lot less to remove it than we are.
And
I mean, the only reason we've kept it is this agreement with the Fish Commission, they stock it for trout every year. If that dam goes away, the trout pond goes away. Then what do we wanna do with the property? Do we want a wooded park with no amenities outside the borough that we have
Right.
to maintain?
Right.
I'm all for selling it.
And we wanna sell
That's
it,
an option.
monetize it, put the money into the park too?
But, I mean, I heard you said, Angie, have we looked into that? Is there any, like, grant money out there that you're aware of, Matt, or is that already kinda?
There may be some for, I haven't found anything for, the rehabilitation.
Okay.
Some of the ones there could be for reestablishing, basically, what would be the lake now when the stream would reestablish itself. If the dam was removed, it would basically just be a huge meadow. It would revegetate and become a very large meadow with a stream running through it. There may be things out there for some of that work.
Gotcha. Okay.
Sounds like we gotta think about it for the next meeting or two and.
Mm-hmm.
So
Are we interested in having Solicitor Diamond at least think about an appraisal?
I mean, I've been in favor of selling that property for years, and I've
So
been,
that's a yes.
met nothing but pushback on it. The other option that nobody's really talking about, and since Tom Mahaffey's gonna be here tomorrow night, would the state be interested in taking it over for the Game Commission and expanding the state game lands to that piece of property?
That's a possibility.
I'd be more in favor of that.
I know I know the Fish Commission doesn't want it, but would the Game Commission want it?
I think the Game Commission just bought a property near there.
Yes, they did.
I didn't know if that was available to hunt on Bridgeton.
It is. It's in a township. It's open. You can hunt there now.
Yeah, I didn't know if you could.
No, Rich, that's a good idea. Let's corner him tomorrow.
Yes, since he's gonna be here, let's put some pressure on him and see if we can get the state to take that property over.
I know, I will never vote to give it away. There's so many projects the borough wants to do. I believe every council member received a wish list of things they wanna do, parks, square, et cetera, et cetera. If you can get a couple $100,000 for that property, that's one or two of your line items off of your list.
That's true.
So I will never vote to just give it away. I support the land, and real estate in Borough Middletown is a high commodity. We have like zero.
One of my
There's-
reasons for cornering too, he may know of a grant that
If the state wants to purchase it all day long to make
Right.
it into
Right.
I just giving away something that has a value of six figures that could go into another park here in the Borough of Middletown. It could be part of the phase down at the pool.
yeah, to get our next
For
section of trail.
the next section of trail.
Yeah.
So just giving it away is something I can't stomach.
Understood.
But I am open to all kinds of options.
Yeah, we can talk to him tomorrow, and I can, get with the proper people at DEP, see if I can pin them down a little bit more regarding what the restoration might look like upstream of the dam, and try and get as much information on that as we can.
Jim, are we able to get like a cost estimate on what an appraisal would cost us to have that done?
Yeah.
Maybe we could find that out for a property like that.
Excellent.
Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome. Fry Manor Park, some updated pricing, was included in the packet. Keeping the accessible whirl as originally approved would require an additional funding of $25,525. As you know, the grant funding was $107,000. This could be, the extra money could be budgeted for in fiscal year 2026 as a capital expense or resubmitted for the upcoming county gaming grant, later on this year. I'm open to,
What is this, for one of them spinny things that kids push around?
the accessible whirl is, an ADA, merry-go-round. It's like, it would be the same as what's at Hoffer. The kids can, it has one open side, a wheelchair can roll up on it and has area that they can kind of secure themselves to.
One of the costing things is the rubberized material that goes around it
Yes.
that gets put in, so you can transition onto it.
Gotcha. There wasn't any other ADA things there, what was there? Was that the only?
Is there 88 swing?
There's, the equivalent of 2 swings, the
Sensory type.
hoopla, it's like a seat that is suspended within cables. The Play World, has that as an accessible item, and, there's currently a tic-tac-toe board there that's freestanding, and that is considered an ADA, accessible item also, that someone could play a game of tic-tac-toe, as well. So there are a few things there. I know there was a request to look at what it would take to keep the accessible whirl in there.
What you're saying here, there's a possibility that we could get a grant later this year.
That would be, the gaming grant would be like what we just received, for this. So we wouldn't know about that until
Next year.
April is when we found out about this past year's. There is a 16-week, there's about a 4-month lead time for the play equipment. So if we want to do something like that, if we want to hold off on the whirl, I would suggest that we move forward with what we can get this year so we can get the park started.
Right.
And then we can get things ordered, because even now, we're looking at a fall completion, at the earliest. And then, we could have the budget for it, or if we budget for it, obviously then, we would have the money if that would go through the budgetary process. If we submit for the grant again, that's a hit or miss. We may get it, we may not get it. I would imagine it would be good odds we would get it, but that's not a given. But, we do have I think it's, Sally, do you recall, is it 18 months for the county money? we do have a deadline to expend the funds for the gaming grant. Yeah, I think it's around a year and a half. So, we would want, like to get that started, as soon as we can. And
That sounds right. Matt, could you provide council maybe next month workshop with the full plan for Fry? Not just the playground equipment, but I know you were thinking you took out the arborvitaes. What would you replace them with? There was the ADA sidewalk from, the whole picture.
Okay.
The ballpark goes away. What would that look like? Is there a pavilion in just the whole park renovation?
Are you looking for an actual plan, like a picture?
If you have a picture, but I would just get a sketch or something.
Oh, yeah.
We had the presentation we gave to the county, you can bring in for everybody and talk about it.
There we go.
I know we talked, I'm sorry.
No.
I know we talked, I think it was last meeting, about the cleanup of that park. I mean, the baseball field's not being used, it is in the flood zone, the bleachers are still there. Is that on anybody's radar to start demoing some of that?
Yep, yeah, I'm keeping it intact there, until we really get all of this finalized, but yeah, did a purchase order for the tree work down there, so that has been sent to, Shaw's, and yeah, we can start demoing,
Yeah, did they analyze that limb, that lead off that tree?
yeah, they're gonna, it was a point, for council when we had been down there looking around at it too. It was the large tree that was back there, the big oak tree. They wanted to maintain that tree as best we could, so they're gonna get up there and prune out. And they're also gonna take deadwood out of a couple other trees, and they're gonna remove two that are right along, Hopper Street itself, that are impinging and lifting the sidewalk and all sorts of other stuff.
Nice.
So, yeah, there will be some things going on there.
Excellent.
We could get 7 Stars to clean up too.
Yeah,
They already did.
Yeah, so we did.
Oh, yeah.
We got them to clean up.
nice, thank you, Matt, that's actually great news.
Well, thank you. If we can look at the proposal that you took up to the county, that would be great.
Okay.
I have, before you move on past Fry.
Sure.
It's actually kind of directed at you, Sally. Sorry, you're like right in my view path. No, it's okay. You don't have to move. So, question: if the 2024 budget, if there was a surplus at the end of the year, I know we have all those funds that have to go to all the different sinking funds, but if there's money left, couldn't some of that money be used for the Whirlwind?
Well, we can't take it out before,
Right. So what's the time frame on that?
so it would go into full cash, so
Mhm.
technically, yes, you could take money out of full cash, but that's
What's
not
the
something
time
we wanna
frame?
do on a regular basis.
Right. I get that. So, what's the time frame?
We could do it before the end of the year, because our financials will be closed.
I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, we could, that's an option.
I like options,
Okay.
especially when it comes to buying ADA equipment. Okay.
Now, we do have a sinking fund that we are, actually Jim's looking at the ordinance right now for 2025. At the close of 2025, after the audit, there will be that same 10% up to 50,000 put into a park sinking fund. So will be in the future an option. It won't be this year, but.
I'm sorry, what? I'm confused.
Which gym?
We're establishing a sinking fund
A
for
sinking
parks.
fund, remember, we have like the MS4 sinking
Mhm.
fund, we have several sinking funds.
Oh, so you're creating a new one?
Oh.
It was voted on last year to work with the solicitor to get the ordinance.
Oh, I don't remember that. Oh, thanks for the reminder.
So we're gonna do that. So that'll be.
Starting in
10%
2026.
of positive fund balance up to 50, just like Public Works and MS4.
Mhm.
So that will be an option next year. Not this year.
I know, but we need it this year.
Well, we could always put it into the capital budget for 2026.
I know, but then you risk the cost, or you're risking the cost going up, which that was one thing with the stuff that goes on the ground, that increasing significantly. So.
Yes, the vendor did say that that is the rubber, I guess, is manufactured ground up. However, it's made in China, and it's been all over the price.
Oh, boy.
Price-wise. So we don't, I'm just,
Might be going up as we're speaking.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, having someone mobilize, come in to install one piece of equipment, not part of a larger project, anytime you do anything like that, it's typically going to be more expensive if it wasn't included in the overall initial thing.
It's gonna be more.
But I'm just.
Yeah.
Matt, are you saying this is the only thing holding up from this moving forward?
No, I can. Yeah,
It's not holding it up. Okay.
We haven't gotten a formal grant agreement that I'm aware of yet.
No, we have not.
Okay, so it's not a rush to say yes or no to that.
Well, we'd like to know what we're doing as soon as the formal grant agreement
Right.
goes in, so
Yeah.
we can tell the contractor to move forward.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
Just to get
we
the
could
stuff
get the grant
ordered.
agreement
So-
tomorrow.
We have to
Yeah.
decide whether we're going to go with buy what we can with the 107 and leave out the inclusive world, or we're gonna come up with another 25,000 plus somewhere else out of the budget to put it in.
When are we
Correct.
when are we expecting that to come in the money?
The agreement,
We're not expecting, you mean from the county?
Yeah.
As soon as we, get the formal agreement, we can
Okay.
move forward, then we submit for reimbursement
Gotcha.
to the county.
And so the agreement is coming in when? When do we?
we don't know. Last year, it came in, I think in September. But
Okay.
it depends on how quickly they move at the county.
Okay.
So
And
you
I
would.
can keep on them.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't really want to
I
move.
thought you were.
Don't want to move forward until we have the actual grant agreement. We
makes
have the
sense.
letter, but we don't have the formal agreement, and I don't want to put us out onto a project and heaven forbid something would fall through at the last minute on their end.
Yep, makes sense. Okay.
So you want us to vote on what we're doing next meeting?
Preferably, yes.
Okay.
Got it. You'll provide us with the
The agreement could come
layout.
tomorrow. We have no idea. I just know, once we get the agreement, I'd like to move as quickly as possible because of that 4-month lag for equipment. That's just to get the equipment, then there'd probably be a month. It's not a big playground, but kind of like Overdeer, there'd be a month or so to install it, so we're into fall really quick.
Well, if you're going to, take money out of our reserve checking account, whatever the pool, Sally refers to as pool cash, we'll need an actual formal motion to do that, to move that money.
Are you gonna be here the
into
next
a parks
meeting?
fund.
Okay.
So we're
Okay.
10 minutes.
All right.
I wanna know what we should put on the agenda for next month. Are we gonna be asking you to move $25,000 or $30,000 into a parks fund, a capital fund from pooled cash so we can buy the inclusive world?
I'm gonna say yes.
I'll support it.
I think the ADA stuff's important, I'm sorry.
I do too.
All right, we're set. We know what we're doing then.
Awesome. Thanks. I was just asking to be prepared for the next meeting. Thanks.
I'll keep being a servant.
You never have a problem asking for anything else.
But you know, it has been fun to watch how popular that piece of equipment is with all kids. So everyone's playing together on it. It's a real hit at Little Middletown, as we know. So
Yeah.
I
think
it will
kids-
get well used. It will get used.
I want them to bring back the metal.
That was my favorite.
Yeah. Where we'd go flying on.
Hey, you remember the maypole?
Rochelle.
Ken's talked about the maypole. He's remembered the maypole here. Our stuff was on asphalt, so yeah, we were tougher then, I guess.
We fall off and get back up.
As requested, I brought, included a little bit more information regarding the Woody Waste Facility. The card breakdown is 70% of the total are Middletown purchasers, 28 are Lower Swadera, and then it's a rounding thing, but 1% is Royalton. I don't, the, 82% of the users use it less than 10 times per year. So 0 to 9 is 82%. If I go 10 to 19, that encompasses 92% of the users of the facility if we would stop it at 19 trips. You would be serving 92% of the existing users.
Does Londonderry have access to Woody Waste?
No. I think, yeah, they have their own places in the rural area, I believe.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
So it's just, Royalton and Lower Swadera.
Yeah, originally Highspire was part of it as well.
Is
Yeah,
Highspire part of it?
They originally were, but they never
No, they
entered
never
into it.
signed on. They were asked, but they never signed on.
So roughly 30% externally.
Yes.
And Royalton's not even
Just-
a real player.
Just 30% externally. Outside of Middletown, it's 30% of the waste.
Yes.
30% of the trips, not the waste.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
30% of the
can't-
trips.
These numbers are solely trips. We can't quantify what
Yes.
each of those trips is. Some trips could be a 5-gallon bucket, some trips could be a trailer. So that's the variable that we can't define that as, unless you put a scale and weigh everybody coming in, you can't really define the volume. But we can determine the usage. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I know you told me this before and I don't recall. What is the cost for, a Lower Swatara resident or Royalton for their cards? Is it 25, 50, 30, 50?
Yes. The question had been posed, I spoke with, those folks at DEP, which is another group. The only quote-unquote penalty we would have with going with only a Middletown facility is they do give, I don't wanna call it bonus points, but that's essentially, I guess, kind of what it is on their ranking file. If you're a multi-municipal grant, applicant, you do get some form of bonus out of it. Yes. But we wouldn't incur any penalties for anything else. So we could still put in for the grant, we may just, whatever their ranking system
Well, that's
is.
not a penalty either. When you go for a grant, you get scored on your grant package that you submit. You get a certain amount of points for certain things. And if you're a multi-municipality, you might get 10 points for that Hummelstown, town who doesn't own loses 10 points. Don't
Right.
they? So it's not really a penalized in a way, it's like a bonus for your chances of getting a grant. When you're
Yeah, but your
Multi.
chances are higher
if you're multi
if you're multi, as opposed to being
by
singular.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
By a certain percentage points.
Yeah.
There are a number of areas they score on, but far more than a couple they score.
But when you go out on your own,
Right.
you're
Lose points,
you lose.
or you don't get
You
points.
lose your credits. You lose your
Yeah.
credits.
So, the place where we used to take it, Ziegler's,
Zegers.
Ziegler Brothers.
there's no other facility that takes it? Or that we know of, or?
Not that I know of. Fortunately, one of the contractors that actually gave us a quote or an estimate on the dam work, they hauled out 10 triaxle loads today. And they're probably going to come back and take more. So they're using it for one of their projects. So I am trying to locate those types of outlets for our material. They hauled out a good bit today, but there's a good bit there still. Residents are taking some of the double grind. That pile has been being chipped away at as well, so.
So that was my next question. So this double grind thing that you're doing, that's a newer thing that you started doing?
I believe they did it in the past, years ago. I mean, it's being chipped away at. I don't know if they've taken one whole dump truck worth yet, but it is being removed. You can see different holes in the pile as time goes on.
Is that kept separate than
Yes.
just the, So I would imagine that that produces better mulch, better, nicer mulch, if you will.
Cleaner
correct?
product.
It produces a finer mulch.
Looks better.
Which
It's a cleaner.
makes it not be, like, it doesn't have as much weed growth in it when it's,
It's the same stuff, we just run it through a smaller, basically the grinder operates like a cheese grater. You know, depending on which side of the cheese grater you use, the finer product you get when you're done grating it. Inside the grinder, we have things called screens, and they look just like a cheese grater, they're different sized holes. And depending on what screen we put in, the material stays in there longer and gets chewed up a little bit more. So it's the same material, the same percentage of whatever people brought in, it's just smaller pieces of that same material.
so is there something that the borough can do to promote getting rid of some of this? Not even just to the borough residents, but to Lower Sweater, to Royalton, even to Highspire, to encourage people to come and take it so we don't have as much.
Council-
And maybe it means you doing more double mulching to make it nicer so people want to use it.
To that
Is
point-
the commercial stuff treated though? It isn't. At other places like Ziegler Brothers.
Oh, well, they,
Coloring treats it. It
That-
kills,
yeah.
the coloring process kills a lot of the weeds.
That's what I was gonna
Yeah, I
say.
was
we
gonna say,
could
I
dye
think
it
that's
black.
the big thing you
Do what?
need to do to
We
be
could
able
dye
to
it black.
get rid of
Oh.
it.
If we dyed the mulch black, it'd be more desirable.
Yeah, but it's also got a treatment aspect to, I think,
Right.
for bugs or whatever, so.
Yeah.
The thing is,
Yeah, if you're gonna be trying to
do we have any?
get rid of it, that's what you do.
Can I just do a shout out for the double grind mulch?
No,
Cause
but
we use it at our house because, and this is not, you know, a home and garden moment, but it is about the double grind mulch. You know how your beds sink over winter, and sometimes it's nice if you raise up your bed a little bit before you sprinkle the decorative mulch on top. The double grind, I don't know, that seems to be okay to build up your beds, and then you can do the decorative on top, and you don't need as much decorative.
right, if someone is making a new bed and you wanna put down 4 inches of mulch, you can do exactly that. You
Yeah.
can put down 2 or 3
Yeah.
inches of this. You know, we've been purchasing mulch for our properties specifically because of, we've seen a huge decrease in weeds. You know, we used to have to spray a lot when we would use that mulch down at Hopper and some of our other parks. And, you know, I think the less overall we can spray, you know, especially in parks, probably the better.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so that's my next question. We have this woody waste facility, and I'm not sure that is there something we can do that we don't have to spend money on mulch? I mean, like, is it feasible for us to treat it so it doesn't generate weeds? I mean, I know we can't control what people bring, and that ultimately is what causes the weeds, but do you know what I mean? And I don't know.
I mean, my understanding, is a lot of times they cure it, and when they cure it, it generates enough heat that kills everything that's in there. But it can get up to 300 degrees, which kills everything in the mulch. To cure mulch or compost or anything, it requires a large area because you have to spread it out into windrows, and we don't.
That's not what we have.
We don't have the area. I'm
Okay.
not sure what specifically they do, if there's something that they spray on it, or if they just do it by heat curing. I can call down to Ziegler and talk to them.
I just was curious because, I mean, I think it's a legitimate question. Think about it. We have a huge facility, we generate mulch, and we're out buying mulch. I mean, does that, to a layperson, I'm like, that doesn't.
I'm with you on that, Angie.
Yeah, like, that doesn't make a lot of sense, so, like, I have to ask. However, back to my original question of, is there something that we can do maybe to promote, you know, getting rid of some of the excess stuff, the double mulch?
Yeah, I
To-
can reach out to Lower Swadera and
Yeah,
to, and
like-
to Royalton.
All the surrounding municipalities to try to encourage, like, it's free, like, have like a mulch day, people can come pick it up, you know, leave it open, the gate, or not leave it open, but have someone there, like certain times or something, and people can come get it for free to maybe get rid of some of it or something.
Sure.
So the way the topo is at the reservoir, that wouldn't be saleable for somebody to make a, because I think Ziegler Brothers is going out of business.
They're keeping.
They're gonna be a data center in,
They're keeping their
Potentially.
wood carpet operation.
oh, they are, okay.
They're looking, they're relocating it somewhere.
Oh, they are, okay.
The wood carpet is a very lucrative, that's the playground stuff, the specifically
okay.
ground up
Are
stuff.
they, do they have dyeing equipment, or are they gonna be selling it?
Yeah, well, I mean, the mulch we get from them is dyed.
That's what I mean. Are they gonna be selling their equipment that they use to dye the mulch?
I can ask them and see.
Because
It gets mounted on the grinder typically.
that's what I was gonna ask you, just because I'm not educated in this, so please excuse me, but I was just looking at like pictures of this, and it looks like there's like a pump mechanism that gets attached to the grinder that just, as the material's going through it, it's just cycling through that.
Yeah, maybe some
But,
sort
like,
of pesticide goes in there too.
Yeah,
Or like
I'd
weed
like,
killer.
but like if they're going out
Our
of
mulching
business and we can get our hands on some used dyeing equipment and
Maybe
we
they're
can
not
dye it.
going out, but it sounds like it sounds like they're not going all the way out of business.
Well, regardless, I know I use black mulch at my house. If the borough had black mulch, I would get the mulch from the borough. For me personally, I think a lot of people would, because you've seen mulch prices at Home Depot.
Yeah, they're expensive now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I just,
When you get into the dyeing, you have to figure out what color you want to do.
well, black is just the main.
I mean, some of the trend is black is fading out. Some people like the brown. I mean, I think you can get the whole spectrum, and then I'd hate to invest one direction and then we have a bunch of something that no one wants. We didn't get any farther than where we are now.
Brown looks like the most popular when you look at commercial places that have landscape, it's always brown mulch.
Black is usually, people that have red brick properties, the black helps highlight the brick, but a lot of people just go with brown.
Well, the natural color of the mulch without dyeing it is brown.
Right.
So you could have two colors. You could have the natural brown, and then you could dye like a red or a black.
Red is the least popular.
I mean,
Mulch is actually gray
Yeah.
when it's mulched. It's
you know, and
it's colorless.
It's
Yeah.
a lot of different colors, because some of it will have pieces of bark, some of it are heartwood. They're the center of the logs when they're ground up, so they're gonna be a very pale color. It will all eventually fade to a gray color. I guess I go back to,
Well, why don't we just see what it costs first before we get into all the, deciding what colors, and, or see if Ziegler has something they're gonna sell, and
Yep.
we can go from there.
I can do a field trip and, go down and see their operation if they're still producing, and, I can talk to them about what they do to, produce their ground mulch.
ask them what their sales are between like the different colors. Like, what do they sell the most of? Because I mean, they are our neighbors, so their
Find out how
market.
much space is needed too, because our woody waste facility really isn't very big.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the area is taken up by people dumping their stuff in the spring and summer.
I would imagine the space is almost going to be irrelevant, because it's just going to be a pile, a 5-ton pile of, say, brown mulch or gray mulch, or a 5-ton pile of black mulch, or
And a pile of double grind, a pile of raw grind, a pile of
Leaves.
Sticks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not a very large site. It gets
Because
very
a big
small
part of it's
quickly.
a storm swale,
Right.
and then you got a lean-to, then you got equipment. It's just not, I've been to other places that do this, and they're much bigger than our site.
we got 50 acres out of the reservoir.
Our site at LP was 15 acres. Ours is less than 2.5.
That's why ours is big too.
So maybe a first step would be just to let more residents know that they can go out there and get mulch.
Yep.
Because my last trip out to get some double grind mulch, someone else came into Woody Waste and said, "Really, you can take that?" Yeah, it's free. So he started,
Yeah, we can work with Grace and maybe we can.
yeah, maybe
Post it on.
put it on Facebook and the website and,
There becomes a problem with that,
Smoke signal.
Matt. When you do the entrance and exit of the gate, are you just gonna leave the gate open for a day for that?
For what?
For the wooden waste for getting,
No, because once people figure out that it's open that day, you'll be amazed on
I
how much
think what
stuff
she's
we would
getting
get.
at, there might be people who would take it, who would take free mulch, would never have a use to go out there and dump sticks off, but they might take free mulch. Cause I think that's what she's getting.
oh,
I think
because if
maybe
they
like,
have a car, if they
Like
have
if you had a pile that was accessible somewhere, that they could get in if they didn't have a car.
If we
Mm.
just pick a day and a 4-hour period.
Yep.
we could get food trucks, we could do, I mean, it's,
let's just have it down at Hubble
it's
Park,
Woody,
we'll bring a bunch and dump it
Waste
there.
Day.
we got mulch day.
Mulch
Oh, we should put it on Earth Day, April 20th, we can do that next year.
Yeah, yeah.
This is going sideways.
Oh my God, this is happening.
What else you got, Matt?
Oh, no.
Uh-oh, it's nice.
No.
Yeah. Keep looking.
Crosswalks, we need to do something with the crosswalks downtown. They're getting in pretty rough shape. The Add-A-Print material that I've looked at, for a few years now, I've received a quote for that. It's very expensive. It was, over $135,000 to do the 16 crosswalks that we have. It's about $45 per square foot. Even to do the Add-A-Print, Public Works would need to remove the existing pavers, take out the sand that's underneath them. We need to install asphalt up to street level. That has to cure for 30 days, and then the Add-A-Print people come back in, they grind off what they need, the depth that they need, and then they do their process. So we would have, I ran some quick numbers, and it was about $8,000 just of asphalt for us to do that, not counting any labor.
Did you say 8,000?
Yeah, to the asphalt for the crosswalks.
Okay.
Just redoing the crosswalks in asphalt and then putting the piano keys like you see in some of the other intersections that we have on Main Street. They're very visible. Between the asphalt and the piano key markings, I would estimate around $20,000.
Looks the same.
So, and we have to do the asphalt either way. We have to put the material in, and then we would have to, let that sit for 30 days, and then they come and grind some of it off that we just installed.
So he's saying two choices. You can get Add-A-Print, which is a stamped asphalt in a color that kind of looks like a brick, a red brick or something, stamped asphalt for $143,000. Or you can just, Public Works could just remove them and for $20,000 just pave them all and paint them. Or
I'm with that option.
Yeah, we would have the thermoplastic
white,
put down.
white stripes like you see on Main Street.
Yeah, I did look at concrete. Concrete was very close to the Add-A-Print cost, plus the issue with the concrete is you have to keep it plated for 2 weeks. You can't drive on it right away, so that would be, the concrete was more of a logistical nightmare to do. We can put asphalt in, and an hour later, someone can drive on it.
I understand there's a big difference in price, but I'm just asking, is there any advantage to paying the higher price? Is it more durable? Does it look better? Is there less maintenance for you over time? I don't know. I mean, I see the difference in dollars, but are there other differences?
Without a doubt, it would look better. You're paying for appearance, essentially. I think durability-wise, they're probably pretty comparable. With the thermoplastic, we'd probably have to redo the thermoplastic every 4 or 5 years, something like that. But we wouldn't have to fiddle, with the asphalt once that's down. Once that's down, it's good. And we do the striping through the COG bid, So if that's the direction we would go, I would just add those into the COG bid for when they're doing other striping, and that's who did the, Main Street was done through the COG bid, it was a contractor that came in and did it. We wouldn't do the thermoplastic, we would have a contractor come and do that.
So for 143,000, that's not like, oh, good, that's a lifetime. I never have to think about them again. You'd still have to come back and.
No, he's talking about the white thing.
After a while, right?
Yeah, it will.
It will wear.
It will wear.
Okay, so if you get
Union Street's a very busy street. You know, in a parking lot, probably get a lot more.
Township has Adeprint
Um,
downtown. So they have the bricks.
I'm not sure what they have downtown. I've seen the Adeprint at, the Med Center. If you go to Hershey for anything, they have, and it does look pretty, but the traffic volume in a parking lot is different than what we have on Union Street.
On a street, yeah.
Man, I think the real question is, out of print lasts for, let's just say, from the hit 5 years. In the line painting, how long do you get out of line painting? 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? Like, do you have to repaint?
The thermoplastic's pretty good. I would imagine probably 4 to 5 years out of thermoplastic.
Okay, so thermoplastic, you get 5 years.
Oh.
Is that the line painting? What about?
How long with the Adeprint? No
Or,
painting.
I'm sorry.
It's all either thermoplastic or Adeprint.
I'm sorry.
Adeprint?
Yeah. Adeprint, how many years?
10 years?
Probably, I would go with that. They don't really commit too much because there's a lot of variables with traffic and usage and everything else. But if we use 10 years as the gauge,
So 10 years with the one, 5 years with the other.
Roughly.
Mm-hmm.
Just for the hip, for the argument's sake.
Yeah.
And the 10-year one costs how much?
143.
143.
Yeah. Adeprint is a 1 year.
143.8.
1 year warranty.
And then the painting is how much?
20,000.
20,000.
Yeah.
So even if you do it twice, you still have a six-figure savings.
Well, it's only 20,000 the first time. It's probably only like 12,000.
yeah, it's less. Because once the asphalt's in, we don't have to
Oh.
asphalt again. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing here is aesthetics versus cost effectiveness. They'll
Right.
both provide a safe crosswalk.
Uh-huh.
It's what we would want the aesthetics downtown to be versus the cost.
Could you do one intersection like with the cheap route and let them see what it looks like before you do any more? Or is that not?
Can't you just go to Main Street? Isn't it, we said we have a Main Street?
Yeah, sure. We have it on Main Street.
Oh.
It's just
Yes.
thermoplastic on Main Street. The piano keys is what he's talking about.
Yeah, they're the big, instead of just a crosswalk line, they're the large.
I think they definitely show up, I think, a lot better
Oh,
than
yeah.
Adeprint. You see
They
where the-
show up better. Uh-huh.
Yeah, things downtown do it, you know, it does kind of blur, because the sidewalks are at the bump outs, they're the pavers as well. It just kind of all blurs together when you're driving down there.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm okay either way. My recommendation from a cost and durability, and we're getting the same end result, would be the asphalt and the piano keys. But it won't look as pretty as what the Adeprint may.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as providing safe crosswalks that we won't have to repair nearly as often as we do with the pavers, and the goal is to have safe crosswalks, the asphalt will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Matt, while I was at the conference at that, Pennsylvania Boroughs Association conference, I actually saw something that was really nice. They made a design, and then they spray painted it. It was really nice. I'd have to look at it and show it to you, but, and it was done in the crosswalk.
Hmm.
And, what is it, there was a grant you could get for it. Main Street grant.
Oh, yeah, there's Main Street. I think the borough may have went for a Main Street grant long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Main Street grant.
You know, there are times that to make something functional and aesthetic and pay a little more could be under consideration, but 6 figures, that's a lot.
It's not budgeted either, is it?
There's not that much budgeted, no.
Are you looking for some direction, Matt?
I would love that, cause I need to do something with the crosswalk.
Well, I'm ready to, move on with crosswalks. You and I have been discussing these for years, and I think we should just pull them up, put the asphalt down, and put down your thermoplastic, and for $20,000, and we'll be done with it.
I'd say.
Yeah, yeah,
Is that what you wanna do?
That is what I want to do.
Yep.
yeah.
I want to get stuff done.
I'm good with it, as long as, unless you have some design ideas, you can make a picture, like, no?
They were nice, but if it's.
I've seen pictures of that, it's really neat.
Yeah, it is, but let's get this done.
We can design stuff later.
That's right, we can do that later, but
Pavers are looking like crap.
Yep, they are.
let's get them out
It's
of the
really
way.
a shame, all that money spent there, and then look at it, geez.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Matt.
Yes. And the only other thing have would be, approval of a purchase for the highway superintendent, would be a Ford Ranger. The cost of vehicles is insane. I couldn't get a full size for anywhere close to what we've budgeted. Full size truck is $1,100 a month. It's insane. They have one sitting in the dealership inside for $140,000. And the loan, the rates now are 8%. So it's really not a
So you have this budgeted for this year,
Yes.
the lease amount?
Yep, I have $800 a month budgeted, so, since we haven't purchased it as yet, those $800 so far that we banked would be part of the down payment.
It's 44,000.
And that'll be on the agenda for us to vote for?
If you folks so choose. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Matt.
All right, thank you for your time.
Matt,
I know it's a bunch of things. Yes.
I know, we just love talking about your report, don't we?
Yeah.
Whew.
I don't know that specifically, but yes.
So the pots, the planters, and the hanging baskets look nice.
They do.
If no one has any objection, can we move forward on getting the summer banners up?
May killed us for the time frame for a lot of things. I don't really like having guys on ladders when it's wet. Ladders they can be inherently dangerous, and if it's wet, it's even worse. The issue with the banner arms, staff went out and measured a number of them yesterday. We have varying sizes all over the place, so there's not gonna be a one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to do is, we have a portable bandsaw, and it's going to take time. We will go and we will measure and cut each one specifically for the top arms, and I'll have to rent a lift to do that, because trying to hold onto a ladder, and there's a lot of moving parts there. I think to be safe, they're gonna be better if they're in, stable
Yeah, so let's
foundation.
work better.
Yeah,
But,
okay.
yeah,
Well,
we are gonna
do
get
what you
started on
can.
those. Yes, ma'am.
There's a bit of summer left.
There is. We will get on those. We were working for the craft fair, like I said, May pushed us back almost a month. It was a terrible month for outside things. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say that, I was at the craft fair, and, I thought the inside of the pavilion looked great.
Thank you.
I mean, the floor looks a little funky, but like the walls look great. It looks so much better in there, and the bathroom was like, wow, it looks really great in there. It looked
Thank you.
really, really great. Like,
Yeah, guys, they spend a lot of time down there. We did replace the lights, the bulbs and the fixtures. They turn on instantly now. They're LED. Cleaned the fixtures so more of the light shines upward. We are gonna paint the floor, and it's probably going to be like a lighter gray color or something. The blue is just too dark.
Yeah, I think-
It's
drags
way
the
too
whole
dark.
Yeah.
interior
it,
down.
it really looked great. Like,
Yes,
you guys did a great job.
Mhm.
yes. Yes, sir.
One question. We've had this discussion for as long as I've been here, and that was security cameras with new parks. Do we have cameras looking at this new park?
There is one up on the corner of the building up here that is pointed over that way.
Is that sufficient?
I think it's sufficient for what our purposes would be.
Okay. All
I
right.
mean, we can always look to put another one or two on this building, now that it's up, and we can look at all the viewpoints and everything. But yeah, there is one, it was planned, and there's one pointed over.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
There's no trash can?
No,
park?
that is, that's being delayed. there's a shipping thing with that. So it is on order, it should be here. We were told it was going to be here early this week. Early this week is over. So it is in progress.
What color is it?
What?
Green. Yeah. So I'm trying. It's, yeah. Yeah.
Do we have any trash can for over there?
I can put some, we can, paint some of the other ones up quick since it's brand new. We can get it spiffed up and put some over there. So,
Yeah,
tomorrow's
'cause
up.
I'm thinking that opens tomorrow night. Weather's to get nice.
Right.
We're gonna need a trash can.
Yep, we'll get two over there.
Okay.
You should walk away now.
As always, if you have any questions or need any information, please get a hold of me and we'll go from there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay. Number 11 is Mara.
You were at this meeting, Jenny?
Yep.
What is this $56,741 deficit? And it indicates that, the daycare loss is related to some rent issues. Can you explain that to me?
They rented Glad Tidings Church. Wait, this is 25 and 24 for a daycare center for newborns to 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
That deal didn't work out. They paid rent and bought supplies, furniture, equipment for the daycare that they never used, and the money was lost.
Mara bought the furniture.
Mhm.
So, and what is it that Mr. Franklin is indicating is happening going forward with this program?
They can't do it.
So they're just not going to do daycare.
Well, they'll still do the before and after school care, but they won't do daycare. Like daycare as you go to another building and you've got babies through, older toddlers. They won't do that.
So the daycare never opened up then?
Nope.
So what happened to all the
But they had to
furniture?
pay
and everything?
monthly rent?
I'm sorry,
What'd they do with all the furniture and everything that they bought?
I believe I asked that. I believe they said it was stored at War Memorial Field.
The advisory board didn't know about.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
this
my
until
next
after
point.
the fact.
That's my next point,
After
which
the
is,
loss.
I see that Mr. Long brought up my concern, which was echoed by you,
Mhm.
in that the more operations, that the municipalities basically don't feel involved. I think that sums up the sentiment, right?
It does.
And so what is Mr. Franklin's answer to that going forward?
Mr. Franklin's stepping back and he's not going to be that person anymore.
Who is?
It's going to be Alexis Wirtz, the
Mm.
assistant superintendent.
One who wrote the,
And we met with her at that meeting, as well as the meeting we had last evening, where I got the contract changes. So,
You and I have had discussions about Mora over the years. I mean, do you feel confident with this after hearing these?
Well-
Even these two items, we just took collectively across 3 municipalities and pissed $56,000 right out the window.
and we're to have 4 meetings a year, and we haven't had a meeting. This last month was the first meeting we had this year. I had no idea they lost the money. Nobody did. Nobody knew.
there was all that transition, right? When Nate he left around that time, right?
He left in, I think, December,
Yeah.
and we haven't had a
Yeah,
meeting
but
since.
just the way he ran that, it's the municipalities were not involved. Once you give them the check and they have the money, that's why Mr. Long brought that up and it's documented in these minutes. That's the exact problem I have with Mara.
Do you feel like
Excuse me,
the way
Sally.
they're handling it now, it's going to be different?
I don't know.
I have no
that's-
assurance of that. I mean, the last thing that I have is that they lost $56,000.
Yeah.
How old is Mara? It hasn't been founded that long.
Yeah, but we
5
just
years?
voted on another contract
Yeah,
and
that was
renewed our
5 years,
contract.
right, Angie?
Yeah.
Was 5 years,
I
now we
think-
just voted
I think
another
it was
one.
5.
Yeah.
So
Because I didn't
It
want to
kicked
do
off in
5. I thought we
2019.
should do shorter.
In 5
What is
years,
that
there's been at least 3
10 per year.
different directors of Mara in 5
Is that
years?
an even 10?
2.
Two.
That we're going on our third.
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's
Yeah.
gonna be a
The
coordinator and
first
not a
one
director.
was,
Will.
as you will recall, once COVID hit and it didn't make sense to keep a staff person, so I think they made the wise decision to just kind of let that person go until things could get back to normal. I'm not justifying, I'm just recalling how
That is what happened.
there was a change. There was one director and then there was a second so
So
quickly.
Mara's what, say 6 years old and has had 3 different.
Yeah,
we're on
this will
its
be the third person
on
that
its
just
third
started.
leadership.
No, this will be the third.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there's
This
gonna
is
be
the
two
third.
CEOs now.
Yeah, but now
so
Yeah.
there's not even
the
one, there's
New proposal.
Well,
there's-
I meant like the
Yeah, I'm just saying.
third
change
change
of
of leadership,
Yeah.
however you want to call it. Dice it.
So, just, have you read this yet?
Yeah, well, and we were on phone a lot yesterday and the day before. There's a lot going on. Lower Sotera was raising the same kind of concerns that Middletown and Royal, everybody was concerned about being left out of all the decision making. And
Well, and just, I mean, I haven't read this. I did read the financial stuff last night. So obviously, I'm not even gonna bring up what you just did because I saw it last night, and you know, there's no reason for me to rehash what was just said
Mm-hmm.
because I feel the same way. But if this revised contract thing here that they made all these changes to is backdated to July 1st of 2024.
so I would say not right now, right, Jenny? So
Right.
they were pushing to have it by the end of June, and last night Lower Sotera said, well, we're not looking at this till August.
They can't get it
End
to
of
them till
August,
August.
Well, but my
I'm-
question is, how are they asking us to vote on something with changes from last year?
Yeah, well, I'm saying that they're out really now trying to say prospectively, but they wanted to, I think, get it in place, July 1 of 25 now.
And we can opt not to vote this in.
So they need the municipalities to vote on this because they realize they don't have the concept in the Constitution and bylaws for these two co-CEOs, if you will. They're not calling them coordinators, but to be a daycare one and a recreation one, and then they have salary increases that they're proposing.
Oh.
And Jenny and the municipalities, other municipalities were raising, they were cut out of the hiring process.
Well,
this
there you
time.
go.
They didn't
Well,
know who these,
Well, hold on now. The original agreement always said that the school district would have exclusive rights to do the hiring. It would be their employee.
What was the first year of the first contract? What were the years? What was the time frame?
2019.
The 2024
yeah.
would be 5 years.
2019 through 2024.
Yeah, Mara would always be the employer and have all the employer responsibilities, but if I understood right from Jenny, until this round, they did look for the advisory committee to, help vet the
Yeah, I think they
potential
included them, even though it said they had exclusive.
Yeah, so
that's
they're,
what
they're
happened.
obviously they're gonna be the employer, they're gonna be
Yeah.
the hiring, the W-2 employer, they're gonna be the, solely legally responsible as the employer,
For
but,
discipline and discharge, all that.
yeah, so until this last round, though, the advisory committee was,
We were included.
in.
Well, what if you can't agree on this when you've already engaged for 25 to 30?
So, they have an issue with, they've started pushing these two new coordinators down the road.
Right, which was not contemplated when
Right.
you voted on this.
Right.
Right. So what I'm saying is, if we can't agree on this document, when you already voted to be a part of Mara for 25 to 30,
Then it'll stay with the current document, they'll have to have one director, have to use those terms, wouldn't necessarily be able to
These
give
changes
the
they're
raises.
making, I believe, I have some personnel information why they're making these changes, so they don't get in the situation they were in before.
Gotcha.
well, I don't agree, especially with any.
One person and one person only. Oh.
There's like an accountability there, kinda.
I think some of the director level decisions are going to Dr. Wertz now, instead of
What type of salary increases are we talking?
Interesting.
So the, one salary increase, supposedly it mimics what an acting bonus was being paid, but it's what, $11,000?
Yeah, it was like, it was $1,000 a month.
Yeah,
And what
12,000.
And then what was the other one?
Oh, it's not salaried anymore, it's hourly. The recreation person is no longer salaried. He's hourly. I do not know what that rate is, but it equates to 45,000 a
Well,
year.
here's my position, and you can tell them, you can take my name right off this, I don't even know why it's on here to begin with. I will not sign this, and I don't wanna sign it anyway, but I'm certainly not gonna vote or agree to a situation where you lose $56,000 and you say, oh, it was just, it is what it is. But let's vote on a $12,000 salary increase over here. There has to be some accountability for that. So if you need to freeze your increases going forward to account for that mistake, this is not pennies. $56,000. That's absurd.
But
So
you do understand, we as municipalities did not know that
I
for
fully
months
understand that,
after it happened.
which is why I circled the very comment that Chris Long made, because I agree with it, and I've said that for years. But Jim, I don't know, why am I on this?
I don't know, I didn't see it.
You could
I
tell
didn't
them I'm
put it
not signing it.
Yeah, in fact, Jenny pushed them to get the credentials of, the two coordinators, which just came in.
Mhm.
You guys have it, but
And they included the
literally they
assistant for the
initially
child
were,
care as well. So we got credentials for
kind
three
of thinking
people.
it's not really your issue, but Jenny said,
What's the
So if I understand, it's not that 56,000 went missing, it's that
It got lost.
somehow the church didn't realize that they did not have the physical plant to be a daycare, and Mara did not double check to make sure that the church had the physical plant to,
Meet the regulations.
with the regulations to become a daycare. Is that how I understand
I'm not
it?
sure who had the responsibility. We were not privy to any of that, but it clearly was someone spent a bunch of money on a physical plant that could not be lawfully used.
So you
Correct.
lost $56,000.
Yeah, so
So
I guess they did
Mhm.
go for zoning and got that, if I understood that right, Jenny.
Yeah, that's what I understood.
But then they
Okay.
couldn't afford to do the basic
The
safety
repairs that
things. You
were
would need to be
required.
licensed.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm not
understand.
sure.
Is there any accounting as to where all that money went?
We just learned all this yesterday.
Yeah, we just
so
learned.
there's-
So we don't know how much they spent on furniture. We don't know if that actually was what
I
was
don't
spent
know
on
how much
furniture.
is the furniture
Or-
and
or
how
who-
much
what
is
the
the
agreement
I'm sorry.
the rent.
Time out. We're
Yeah.
looking at the one that says daycare, right? Daycare, not the Raider care, but the daycare.
The daycare.
So if you look at what they gave us, it's the 53,887.
No, 56,741.
Okay, so, well, that's under Raider care.
That's not what he has. That's not what Franklin has in the.
Well, I know, so that report is different than what's on this little thing here. It's the daycare one, that's the, negative revenue of $53,887,
I think
right?
that's because they offset some income they had, but
Yeah, I
the
think they-
actual loss for this thing was the 56.
Okay, but it's the daycare, not the Raider care, I wanna make
Correct.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you
Which
look at
never
this
got off the
breakdown that they gave us, the salary is $22,000, the benefits is $8,000,
Yeah.
the rent was $18,900, so they paid rent
Yep, they did.
for the daycare wherever it was supposed to be, but they never had a daycare there.
Right.
So it wasn't just the daycare, it was other costs in there, but they paid $18,000 in rent for a facility that they,
Yeah, who did
Yeah, and
the
that
18 go to?
presumably in,
18 went to the church?
Flat tidings is,
Well-
yeah, that's what it sounds like.
oh, I'm sorry, $2,400 in uniforms. I'm just telling you how it's
Well,
broken
they
down
had
on their
already-
sheet.
They had already hired a staff for that daycare.
So is
$1,100 in tech supplies. Well, that's all of it.
was this daycare like free to the residents? No.
Did they even, did they have, well, they couldn't use it.
Is there not enough like commercially private daycares in the world that Mara needs to be in this business? I mean, if it
You
was
know,
like
I
free-
don't know because I don't have, but I have attended the school board meetings and parents come and say there isn't. So I suspect that's why Mara thought that that could be a service to the community.
I think they
Now,
saw it
looks
as a
like
revenue.
they kind of didn't go about it the right way, but as I understand, there is a need because Ebenezer closed down, Discovery Kids closed down, so.
Yeah, daycare businesses,
It's a big
a lot
deal.
goes on. I mean, you
It's
just can't, like,
with regulations, I think it is
throw it-
complicated.
throw it
And
together.
there is a need in this community because
Yes.
the other two have disappeared.
Yeah.
But
Um,
it's, if they paid rent, now we haven't seen any of the legal documents, but in the regular landlord-tenant commercial world, that would tell me Mara had the responsibility for knowing the code requirements and the licensing requirements
You
of
see
the
it?
church.
Yeah, because they were gonna.
Because otherwise the
they were
church
gonna
would,
be the
would not have
operating
gotten
the
rent.
daycare.
22,000 paid to salaries for
Right.
a daycare that never happened.
Right, yeah, that's what I was saying.
They went
and
in and set the whole thing up. I actually
Benefits,
went to
8,000.
the open house they had for the public so I could see it.
uniforms, tech costs.
Mhm.
Mhm.
22,000.
How did they pay
So
somebody
they were
for
pretty far down the road before they
Yeah, I
figured
think
it out.
$22,000 is? You know how many man hours that is?
Yeah, how did
Tech
somebody
supplies,
get a
1,000.
paycheck for something that never happened?
Well, I think they were out there working, setting it up and decorating the rooms.
Well, before it opened, but this is $22,000.
That's what I mean.
That's a lot of.
I think they hired
Hold
more
on.
than one
divided
person.
by 40.
To set up a daycare.
I think it was more than one person.
Oh, yeah. There was multiple people out there the night I went to that open
My
house.
position is,
That's $540 an hour. That's 550 hours.
my position is I wouldn't
550
sign
hours at
anything
$40
from
an
this
hour.
freaking school district until that money's accounted for.
550 hours? Dude, that's a lot. There's weeks. Weeks of.
Yeah.
I mean, unless what they're doing is they're taking
That's at
somebody's
$40
salary and breaking it
22.
out into different categories, allocating it that way.
800.
They have benefits
like,
through
you
the
know,
school district.
This is
That could be, but
disaster.
so
They're technically school district employees.
could they? So what I want to is there anything in our agreement with them? I mean, is this something that we just have to like take as a loss?
Not necessarily. So a lot of the concept is including ever withdrawal. So theoretically, you got to get approval from the majority withdrawal. The school district gets 2 votes. So the 3 municipalities, if they are in lockstep, they can control a lot of stuff. But if one is against it, then you know you're kind of stuck in this arrangement for the long term. Now you may not have to agree, you know, to certain changes. And right now, though, Jenny just learned all the question marks and was demanding information. So are the other municipalities. So it's the front end trying to figure out what
Does anybody know?
has been going on for the last half year or so.
Does anybody know if we withdraw us, if there is any money that's obligated to be paid back to the state for the grants that set this thing up originally?
Yeah, I don't know that you know we have any of that information yet.
Can we find that out?
Yeah, I thought it.
Whatever got
If we, I thought it
Oh, they did.
because we
Okay.
went through the first 5.
Oh, they did.
Lower SWAT did.
We did not.
We did not.
Sounds like a low sweat problem.
That's I agree.
It's just still my problem.
Sorry.
And that grant's completely,
I don't know anything
it's
about the
at the
grant. I
end.
haven't
The,
seen any.
the grant owes no more money to,
Oh, well then,
yeah, it's a done deal.
Yeah, we cycled through that in the
Mhm.
yeah, or yeah.
Jenny or Ellen, do you think that somebody from Mara would come here and get in front of us to basically
You mean
try
the
to
school?
get filleted.
well,
Yeah, school district.
but
Yeah.
fair well might by Tim, but just to kind of like reassure us, like, okay, this is the plan going forward. I would like to hear it from their mouth. This is the plan. This is kind of what it's going to look like. Kind of reassure
Maybe
us.
that's something the assistant superintendent,
Yeah,
whose
because
new role it is to.
When we were getting those reports about yeah,
It's easy for you to say.
Middletown had a huge percentage of kids in that before and after care. That's gonna change the amount they pay if we're not I guess a member, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
So it is something maybe we should have somebody come.
Mm-hmm.
I think they should start coming to our presentations in general.
We asked that before they were supposed to come, and what was the first guy's name?
Will.
Will. Will came like a couple of times, and then it like fell off the radar.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they don't have to come every month, but like maybe once a quarter or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we only technically have 4 meetings a year,
Okay, so maybe once a quarter.
so.
Jenny also had mentioned about, I guess they rent out the Main Street gym, or no, the
MCSO.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they rent out our facility and they keep the money from that, but we bear the expenses, it sounds like. And the other municipalities don't have something like that they rent out.
Well, it was another thing. I thought when they took that over that the fees that they brought in from renting out our facilities was supposed to offset what we paid,
Well, it doesn't offset it.
No.
like what we were supposed to pay in.
No, I don't remember that.
No, we've never offset that. No.
Now, did I make that up?
Well, it's actually a good
No,
idea. It's actually a good idea because if the other municipalities can't offer something like that and we do, and they take advantage of the facility, why should we not receive a benefit for that?
We did it to get out of the nuisance of handling it ourselves. You guys take this over, do the scheduling, do all the nuisance work with it, setting this up, unlocking it on a Saturday, and you can keep whatever you collect on it. Now, I don't think it gets rented very often. But that was part of the deal. We didn't want it out from under having to manage that. And when Nate was there, he agreed to take that on with his scheduling and so forth. And he also had control of it then. He knew when he could get pickleball people in there, table tennis people, all the different other things that they don't, that he does charge, I think, some fee to. It's not a lot of money, but.
Pickleball's $5.
Yeah, the original thing was anything we can do to help keep the rec programs on that we could contribute, we would.
That kinda makes sense.
I think I like Pat's idea of having someone from the school district.
I
I
agree.
know you attended the meeting and that's great, but it would be good to hear directly and we can ask questions and.
Yeah, because in
Yeah,
a day-to-day operation, I have no idea what's going on.
Right, and, yeah.
And they're imposing a deadline on when you need to sign this?
Well, I think they wanted, their budget
Fiscal
runs
year's
July 1st to June 30th. I think they wanted it by then, but the lower SWAT rep said they couldn't have it before mid-August, because it'll go through the cycle of meetings like ours will.
Well, is anybody from these other municipalities at all interested in figuring out this number and where everything went? Lower Sotero, Royalton? Well, I don't think we should sign anything until you have that answer.
Do they have you say the new fee in here?
The 12?
Is the new fee in here?
I don't know.
Is
For
what?
the raise?
Which page were you looking at?
2, paragraph 5.
Financial report?
Yeah. No, program income statement. I don't know how you're gonna sign something where the entity has not involved the municipalities and is negative $56,741 on a daycare program and you don't have any answer as to where the money went. I have no idea how you pay a salary for a program that never happened.
Those people were physically on the job when I went there
To set it up,
to set it up, and
but it
then,
never happened.
right.
It's
So I
like
guess
me
they had to
painting this
take-
room and saying, okay, we're painting the room, we're getting ready to have council meetings here, and then we never have a council meeting. Whatever time is in that, fine, but there's no way it accounts for,
I think that's a question, I don't think we can jump.
I
You
do,
know, there
because
may
we
have
need an answer
been-
on that, if you care at all.
Exactly. But we should ask them. So how did that, You
Yeah.
know, how did that happen?
550 hours at $40 an hour,
And they're not making that.
and they're not making that. So it's probably more like 600-700 hours, man hours, $22,000. That's a lot of man hours. You figure it's 40 hours in a week.
Right, right.
And now furniture is stored at
So-
the field.
At the field, that's what, I asked that. And they said it was stored at War Memorial Field.
But are they trying to sell it, or,
I
see,
believe
there's a
they're-
lot of questions,
they're
and we're
gonna-
not trying to nail, you
They
know.
are gonna try and sell it.
Uh-huh.
But I think if they want us to stay, you know, involved in this, then somebody should maybe come to a meeting and answer our questions before we have to vote
I
on
agree.
Yep.
I mean, I wasn't keen, I didn't wanna do 5 years the last time. If I had to vote today, my vote would be no. I wouldn't even have to think about it. So,
Don't they get audited every year? Like we just had a report?
I'm sorry,
Mara, as part of the school district, they should get audited every year, just like we gave a report on our audit.
I would assume they do.
I assume the 56,741 should be in the audit.
Oh, that's true.
Or they should have some receipts. They're using taxpayer funds to purchase furniture, pay people, etc. Let's see them. Let's see the receipts.
they have to have more information. That's a simple spreadsheet somebody did, so there's gotta be more information.
That's the only thing we ever get is that
Yeah.
spreadsheet.
Here's the, like a spreadsheet.
There was a more
with the
detailed view there, but it was only.
glad tidings, payments,
Yeah, rent for something that never happened. Yep.
October 24, 37.
Well, let's just, instead of, it's almost 9:30, so if we just wanna have someone come and have our questions answered, maybe that's the next step.
Okay.
Police.
It is. Item number 12, police report.
So soon? All right, so, couple topics really quick, and then I have one that'll take some time. We all saw the air show, it went very well, we had very few issues in the borough, it was actually pretty full down on Susquehanna Street. We were fortunate that the county fire police stepped up and had multiple people here for the traffic control points, so myself and the officers working the shift could focus on working in the borough. They've already signed a contract for next year, so it's gonna happen again next year. So, craft show was a hit as usual. I think some of you might have seen a social media post that raised a little bit of an alarm. We were notified a few days before the craft show by Dauphin County. Through some intel, they gathered that there was potentially 2 events in the county occurring over the weekend that may impact citizens. One was the No Kings event in downtown Harrisburg. The other was the Freaks for Facets event in Middletown Borough in Hoffer Park that was supposed to occur. Fortunately, we got it on in enough time that we could do some intel and some research into it. It was somebody holding a potluck for an informational thing. I contacted the owner. I told them they needed a permit. They canceled their event. It was not an issue for us. But online, when you first saw it, you were concerned there may have been some type of protest that was occurring at the same time as the craft fair. Just another example of if anybody or you hear anything or see anything concerning something like that online, get it to us as quickly as possible so we can do some intel and find out exactly what type of risk it presents us. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the Dauphin County District Attorney's Office is applying for a large crisis intervention grant for the years 2026 and 2027. Part of that grant, the main part of the grant, is crisis intervention training for law enforcement, support of the county crisis intervention team, de-escalation training for police departments, including scenario-based, a large amount of training for police departments for crisis intervention. That's something we currently do take advantage of. The other part of the grant would be a co-responder to be shared by Pembroke and Middletown Police Department for the years 26 and 27. This was dropped on my plate last week. I got a visit, so I apologize for the short timing on this. The grant would provide a co-responder for 2 years free of charge for 2 police departments to share, Pembroke and Middletown Borough. What is a co-responder? You've heard that word used quite a bit. I've talked about it before. A co-responder is a social work / mental health professional who's embedded within a police department to respond to behavioral health calls with trained officers. Co-responders support officers with de-escalation on scene and provide referrals to individuals in need of services. So basically, they're a mental health social work professional embedded in our department. They would ride 2 days a week with us the first week, and then the next week it would be 3 days, and we're shared from the department. Why is this important? It's important. We have quite a few individuals in the borough who need crisis intervention assistance. We have hundreds of calls for service over the last couple of years for this. They're looking for a letter of support from the police department to apply for the grant. They're looking for that letter of support by, I think it's mid next week. That letter of support does not commit us to anything at all. It allows them to apply for the grant. If they get the grant, they would then come and present to council the importance of having a co-responder and what it could do for the police department. The first 2 years are free. They are expecting in years after that we would contribute a portion of the pay for that person. There is no commitment for us to continue after that year. I believe right now the cost per municipality is approximately $40,000. I would expect in a couple of years it would be a little bit more than that. We would have to sign an MOU with them. The MOU specifically says at any time we can, in writing, remove ourselves from the MOU. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but what I'm looking for is the ability to sign a letter of support for the grant. I've talked to the mayor about this, and with his blessing, I can pen that letter just to get them to apply for the grant. There is no commitment on our part. In fact, the email specifically says, Dan, signing this letter just supports the grant. It does not commit Middletown in any way to participate in the co-responder. Every police department surrounding us, with the exception of High Spire and Royalton, currently have co-responders. Lower Swatara, Steelton, obviously Harrisburg City, Derry Township, Susquehanna, Lower Paxton, Swatara, they all have co-responders. Larger departments like Lower Paxton employ 2 full-time co-responders all the time. The other thing that's important about this is the de-escalation part of it. The law enforcement nationwide, when they employ deadly force in situations, many times the people involved are in crisis. And having somebody on board with us to help with these types of situations would be important for us. And an example would be 3 to 11 shift currently goes on a mental health call and ends up taking somebody to the hospital for a 302. The co-responder and the officer assigned to the co-responder would visit that household the next day, see the status of the person who was involved in crisis, make sure they're enrolled in programs, following up with medication, doing whatever they have to do. Currently, that's not something we do. We solve that crisis, we pass it on to mental health professionals, we move on. So having this co-responder could be a benefit to us. So before I press too hard on it, there's no commitment to support the grant. They get the grant, we'll have somebody come in, talk about it, we can collectively decide if it's something we want to pursue. And if we do pursue it, the 2-year free commitment does not require us. Halfway through the second year, I could present, this isn't doing anything for us. We could decide to withdraw from that. I don't expect that to happen. I think it'll be beneficial for us.
Right.
And
it sounds good.
It does.
It sounds good, Dan.
It's working for other jurisdictions.
Yeah.
And we all know from our personal experience and things we see that the mental health crisis isn't getting any better.
Right.
And I think it's I think it's a good proactive step on their part.
Yeah. Thank you. Sounds good.
So, like I said, I'm looking to be able to send the letter of support, and then we'll move forward from there.
Please do.
Yes, send it.
Thank you. I have nothing else. Oh, Grandview, real quick. The signs were replaced. We put the door hangers out. We are not gonna do a ticket blitz and go up there and start tagging cars. The point of having the things hanging in cars is so we can identify, is there a need for this? If there's 50 cars on the street, and 6 months from now, 25 of them don't have hangers on them, we may have a problem. Before we would go out and start ticketing not on complaint, I would come to council and it's something we would discuss. Currently, again, somebody sees somebody get out of a car with a backpack and walk to the college and they call us, we put a ticket on the car. But we are not going out there now and checking. Not saying it won't get to that point. The college has some construction. They're gonna have limited parking for a period of time. It may start edging back into the neighborhood. So the goal now is just to get the residents to get their permits free of charge and get them hung in their cars.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
You bet.
Thank you.
Number 13, joint venture. Grace indicates there's no one here. And number 14, council. Does council have anything? Mayor?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay. Okay, now is the time of general public comment. Is there any comment? Seeing none, we will be adjourning and going to executive session. I need a motion to adjourn. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.